We all know what images the Tour de France conjures up in the mind. The beauty of the mountains, the torture of their climbs, the golden hues of the valleys, and the sprint roar to the finishes on the flats, the pageantry of the Champs-Élysées, and the rewards that are handed out there. Now it begins again, but something is missing, something great. We watched as a brash Texan came back from the insidious to win cycling's greatest race. And Lance Armstrong's 7 straight wins leaves us with other memories of the unthinkable, the death-defying, the triumphant, and the teammate he was. His retirement creates a golden chance for us to find the next king. 3 Americans are out to prove that the U.S. is more than Lance and Greg LeMond. One of the last major stage races before this tour was won by Levi Leipheimer, the best thing he's ever done on a bike. Dream isn't a strong enough word. Floyd Landis was once a soldier for Armstrong, then decided to get some fame for himself. 3 wins this year remind you, timing is sometimes everything. And finally, there is George Hincapie, longtime Robin to Lance's Batman. The Discovery veteran finally broke through last year to win a stage for himself. He called it one of his life's greatest moments. He is deserving of getting the Discovery push in what they call the race to replace. They all know what is ahead of them. 23 days of proving themselves worthy of being included in a century of history here. The miles, the mountains, and the crashes. In an environment that Mother Nature will unleash in her own cruel way. Come with us for thousands of miles around a country of astounding cultural and geographic changes. Things that slowly, or sometimes quickly, peel away the soul of the man to reveal that cyclist who will redefine his career. In a brand new era that begins now in the one and only Tour de France.
This is going to be yet another memorable moment.
And so we begin to find out who will eventually sit in Lance Armstrong's throne. We welcome you to the gorgeous Alsace-Lorraine region of northeastern France. They've waged war here for this part of the world for centuries. But today, cycling's great battle begins here with the Prologue, a ceremonial beginning to put someone in the yellow jersey so that everyone else has someone to chase. It all happens in the shadow of the gorgeous Notre Dame Cathedral in Strasbourg. We're at the start-finish line here, and we welcome you to our mobile studio. We'll be with you for the more than 2,000 miles. Al Trautwig, Bob Roll, Paul Sherwen, and Phil Liggett. Hi, everybody, and welcome to opening day of the 2006 Tour de France. Here's what we know. Someone is going to win this career-defining race that has never won it before. That's after the culmination of a long spy novel that started a little over a month ago in Spain. It was called Operation Puerto and included email interception and wiretapping and raids that found blood doping equipment and implicated as many as 58 cyclists. Well, all the rumors became fact yesterday when unanimously the 21 team directors of the 2006 Tour de France voted to ban 9 men who were implicated, Jan Ullrich included. The 97 Tour de France champion, still after all these years a favorite, he is out and says was wrongly accused. Continue on to the man who was, in the minds of many pro cycling fans, the favorite for this year's tour. The Giro d'Italia champion of this year, Ivan Basso, may be young enough to survive this Spanish Inquisition. Francisco Mancebo from AG2R, he says this is too much. His cycling career is over. Oscar Sevilla means T-Mobile takes yet another hit and starts with only 7 riders. And then the team known as Worth disbanded as Liberty Seguros. That's another story for Alexander Vinokurov, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But as we welcome in Phil Liggett to start, we've had a chance for 24 hours to sift through this landmark day in the sport of cycling. What are you thinking today?
Well, we're just about recovering from what was a stunning 48 hours. I admire the organisation very much, and in particular the team management, because these are riders' names who are on a list provided by Spanish police to the race organisers on Thursday. And as a result, the teams agreed to send anybody on that list home. Now, at this stage, we must emphasise they are not guilty of taking drugs at this moment. Investigations will continue. If they are in fact proved to be innocent, then a tremendous injustice has been done. If they are guilty, Al, I'm glad they've gone, and may they never come back.
Now, in the years of his outstanding career, Alexander Vinokurov has to be considered a contender in this year's tour, except for one problem. Although he wasn't on that list of submitted to be suspended from this year's tour, he is a victim nonetheless. He gets knocked out as a result of team members found on this list, Paul, and now his tour is over as a result.
It's completely over for Alexander Vinokurov, and I have to say, you know, in a war on drugs, there are sometimes innocent victims, and I think for Alexander Vinokurov, he is one of those victims. He has never once been linked with this scandal at all, but he did make the transfer during the winter season to the team that was formerly known as Liberty Seguros. He was even presented to the crowd a couple of days ago as a participant for the 2006 Tour de France, but because 5 names from his team were taken out of the event, his team does not conform to the qualification standards required, which means you have to have 6 riders to start the Tour de France. Unfortunately for Alexander Vinokurov, he won't be trying to win the Tour de France this year.
So, at least at the outset, this Tour de France is about largely who's not taking part in the beginning. But there still are contenders who think they can win this 2006 Tour de France. 7 years under the reign of Lance Armstrong has brought 7 years of answers. Who was the man to beat? Who was the strongest climber? Who would pedal fastest in the race against the clock? Is there an American capable of picking up where Lance Armstrong left off and carrying the stars and stripes once again through the roads of France? George Hincapie should carry the load for Team Discovery, while Floyd Landis and Levi Leipheimer will bring their own overall hopes to France. Or Australian Cadel Evans. Could he finally live up to the promise he has shown through the years? The 2006 Tour, full of questions, but each one waiting to be answered. Now, Bob Roll, truth be told, I don't know if Cadel Evans was part of our original preview before yesterday. And wouldn't you love to know how many riders who went to sleep on Thursday night thinking that they really couldn't win the Tour woke up this morning thinking after yesterday that, hey, maybe there's a shot?
Well, that's a very good point that you bring up. Racing for 5th place, racing for the podium is a little bit different than racing for the yellow jersey. When you're racing for the top 10 and you're a GC contender, you have a hope. It's sort of nebulous in the back of your mind. But now for 3 Americans especially, that's right in the forefront of your mind and your team's strategy. Levi Leipheimer, Floyd Landis, George Hincapie, you got to put them at the top of the list now for contenders.
And again, we're just getting started on this long journey, and on the map behind me you can see we're going to go tomorrow for a few moments into Germany, on up to Luxembourg and Belgium, and then wind up actually in Spain. But the big kahuna, the Yankee Stadium of cycling, is part of this year's tour. That would be Alpe d'Huez. Let's talk about today. It's just over 4.2 miles. It's called the Prologue, and it really just is held to put someone in the yellow jersey. As you look at this counterclockwise trip that we're about to take around the country of France, it all starts here on the German border. This is flat out from start to finish through the streets of this city, which will also host tomorrow's Stage 1. And if you can believe it, they're actually going to move the start-finish line compound from today until tomorrow. It's relatively flat. And yes, there are great dreams for what could happen here, and they lie in the minds of Americans like Levi Leipheimer. He's never had a year like he's had in 2006. His confidence is high, as it is for Floyd Landis. He's won 3 stage races this year after supporting Lance Armstrong for so many years. And to that theme, same can be said for George Hincapie. After supporting Lance Armstrong last year, he broke through and won a mountain stage. He is the man to watch, perhaps, to wear yellow. And that was the way it was last year for American Dave Zabriskie, when the opening stage was too long to be a prologue, so it was Stage 1. And he has great memories for what happened on day 1 of the tour a year ago.
It was a good feeling. I've done it in other races. It's always a good feeling. That would be nice, but to recreate that again would be difficult and amazing at the same time. I mean, we'll just wait and see what happens.
Just wait and see what happens. Boy, you can say that just about every day. You can almost hear how unsure he is in his voice, especially now that the team has lost its leader.
Well, I wouldn't be if I was Dave Zabriskie. He is fast as grease lightning in a time trial. The most aerodynamic man perhaps to ever race on a bicycle. He's flat out. His position is perfect. It would be so sweet for Team CSE, for Dave Zabriskie to win the prologue, get the yellow jersey, in light of what's happened to Yvan Bosso, expelled from the Tour de France.
Well, he'll have to be born from jets if he hopes to win this prologue. And this is the Saab pre-race show on OLN. When we come back, another story. He's back from the twilight zone of blood doping, and he's one who actually admitted it. Dave Miller back from a 2-year suspension. Plus, we'll make our early predictions in our battle to give up the odds for the Saab yellow jersey. Back after this.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
Who will be the first to wear yellow? The tour begins with a prologue which could propel a rider into a big lead or send someone spinning. Tour de France Enhanced, tonight at 8 on OLN. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
What an itinerary we have ahead. France, then Germany, on up into Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, into France, and again into Spain. This is the prologue and where it begins today in the 2006 Tour de France. Take you through the stage. It's 4.4 miles today, 2 times the width of Manhattan. First hosted in Strasbourg just after the cataclysmic First World War. Welcome back to the Saab pre-race show. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll, Paul Sherwen, and Phil Liggett in no particular order. You have to wonder, after yesterday's 9 dismissals because of the association with the Spanish blood doping ongoing investigation, what's on the mind of a man from Great Britain wearing number 162 today by the name of David Miller. 3 times he has taken to the streets of France and pulled off stage wins. However, a rare athlete, he admitted to taking blood and performance enhancers. Today he returns from his 2-year suspension.
I'm pretty lucky, if you like, in that I'm so focused for the prologue. You know, it kind of takes away, it comes to a point where it transcends all the feelings and emotions because I'm so clinical about it, which is probably the best way of tackling my first day of racing. I think the hardest bit's once I've finished the prologue. Then it will all start hitting home. But, no, I mean, like I said, it's just excitement, and there is an overwhelming curiosity about how well I'm actually going, because I mean, I've just been riding by myself for a year. So, I mean, I know I'm good, but I just don't know how good I am.
Well, Phil, you have to think it'd be better if he didn't say his approach was clinical and he's been part of the problem, but now he's paid the price. Is he different than the guys that were dismissed yesterday, or is it somehow the same?
He's different in as much that he has actually confessed to taking drugs, which he did back in 2003 after he won the World Time Trial Championship. He said he took the drugs for insurance, and I agree, he is a terrifically talented cyclist and a great time trial rider. Now, ever since then, the same winner of the World Time Trial Championship has been Michael Rogers of Australia, and he rides as well today. But I think, you know, that David Miller is completely clean now. Everything is behind him that was bad about him. He said, I cheated, I lied. He spent 2 years watching the Tour de France on television. He said, I've lost that because of what I did, and I want to come back. He should be given another chance.
And we will see him with great interest starting number 162 in the prologue today. Now, after all the hard news, we can have some fun. And yes, it is back. The battle for our own yellow jersey. It's the Saab yellow jersey. There you go. It's official now. They'll battle for the yellow jersey out there in the Tour de France, but so will we be making our picks. Last year, Paul Sherwen pulled it out. And I think, Phil, that you took this a little personal.
Well, I did. And, you know, as there are only 4 of us, under the rules of the Tour, we can't even start. We don't have a full team.
I don't see a problem. We finished first and second.
Now, Phil accused you of cheating, but you didn't even win.
It's hard to lose and cheat. That's bad.
As with every game, we have rules. And let's show you what we got. We make our picks, and you get 4 points if somehow you find the stage winner. 3 for second, 2 for third, 1 point for fourth, All picks must be different riders, and the order of the picks alternate daily. So, as a result of him being the defending champion, we start with Paul Sherwen.
Well, I'm looking for a win for England in the World Cup this afternoon, but I'm looking for a win for the United States of America and Dave Zabriskie.
Can't have everything.
Well, he won last year, and I think he's going to win again this year. So, I'll tell you what, Zabriskie's my pick for the day because he's on form.
Well, he was my pick last year, but this year I'm going for new boy back after suspension, David Miller. He's had his racing license 5 days. This is his very first race back. He is ready for it. He is primed, and I think he'll deliver the goods. He's won day one before in the Tour de France.
For me, picking third is a little bit of a disadvantage, but I'm going with Paolo Savidelli. He's twice won prologues this season already in the Tour of Romandy and the Dauphiné, in the Giro d'Italia. He won a stage in last year's Tour, and so I think he's going to add to his Tour total wins, and he's going to make it number 2 today.
Basically, I threw the dart at the board and hit Norway. The big, powerful man, Thor Hushovd. He's proven he can go short distances and be the fastest man. We'll see how things go. I know you guys are all confident. Should I be at all confident in my choice or not?
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, Al, you're off to a bad start.
I don't know.
You'll get 1 point.
I have no shot.
No, Costume, last year you picked Thor Hushovd for 4 days. You actually got some points out of it.
I did. And he was good for me then, and he'll be good today.
Took a while.
Yep.
You'll get 1 point today, Al.
You think? Phil and Paul will head to the booth, and we will then present the prologue here on OLN. After that, complete post-race coverage, and after that, complete preview coverage of the Tour, which in earnest actually begins tomorrow. But it's the prologue today, and we've got it every mile. Next, this is the 2006 Tour de France on OLN. Go Thor!
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the Ultra.
So we're back from break. In the bottom of the 9th inning, a tie score. And the game, the season, the whole year comes down to this battle. Hard hit to left field. It's a goner! But wait a minute. Is it a foul ball?
It's your call. Fair or foul? Need a moment?
I think he signaled home run.
When you need a moment, chew it over with Twix.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
What do you want?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Danny DeVito.
Why can't you just die and leave us your money like normal parents do?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Thursdays at 10, only on FX. Now, you can win a chauffeured Always Sunny bar crawl for a taste of Philadelphia that you'll never forget.
We're done here.
For more details, log on to recroom.com.
This year's edition of the 93rd Tour de France begins with a traditional prologue time trial at just 7 kilometres in length. The test awaiting the riders may not seem substantial, but the stakes are high. The man with the fastest time on today's stage will be rewarded with the coveted yellow jersey and ride as overall race leader. The opportunity to become aware of the maillot jaune is not a reality that presents itself often, and for some, today's pursuit has been the focus of their entire season. In the past, we've seen overall contenders come out in full force to make a statement, while for others, this time trial has produced the performance of their career. It was 1 year ago an American shocked the peloton with a momentous ride, defeating a champion and claiming the right to wear the leader's yellow jersey. Zabriskie at 20:51, it's going to be close. Zabriskie's won the stage! Zabriskie has won the stage! Well, this year David Zabriskie is back and ready to prove that last year was no fluke. But it won't be easy, with plenty of challengers awaiting to establish their authority on this race. For some, today's stage starts and ends their Tour de France, and it's time to let the drama unfold. The opening prologue of the 2006 Tour de France kicks off from Strasbourg next on OLN. Yes, it's time now to move on from the controversy of the last 48 hours. The Tour de France is about to get underway. It's the prologue time trial. It's only over 7 kilometres. There is a massive crowd here in the streets of Strasbourg. The skies are blue, and even the French Air Force are enjoying what is set to be a most exciting day. And we are ready, and I hope you are too. Hi everybody, I'm going to confess straight away, Paul Sherwen and I are celebrating our 21st year together this year as commentators on the Tour de France, and we wouldn't miss it for the world, right?
We certainly wouldn't miss it for the world, and we wouldn't miss the opening day prologue either.
Right. Well, the prologue is the time when riders who may not win the Tour de France have the chance to at least get the yellow jersey on the shoulders for 1 or 2 days. And you know, this year there are a lot of American riders who could win today.
You have to be a specialist at the opening day prologue, but this year, if you have a look at the performances of riders like Dave Zabriskie with a win in the Dauphiné Libéré, Levi Leipheimer in a win in the short time trial in the Tour of California, George Hincapie won a prologue last year over 7.9 kilometres. This year, Bobby Julich was a winner of the prologue of Paris-Nice. And although Floyd Landis has not won a short time trial, he did win the time trial stage this year in the Tour of California.
Well, as we join the action, let's look back briefly at how Sebastian Lang set the best time. There's going to be a shock perhaps coming in. 8:21, Sebastian Lang. He's just won the time trial championship of Germany, so he's celebrating with an early lead in the prologue. That's the situation, just hundredths of a second quicker than the Australian Stuart O'Grady. Vladimir Karpitz in third place. Now, let's get down to the action. We're looking at the 300-year-old Notre Dame here in the centre of Strasbourg. She's seen it all before, but she's never seen a prologue time trial in the 93rd Tour de France. Paul, out on course, we've got a best time being set by Joost Postuma, 4 minutes 6, but I think in fact he's just finished, hasn't he?
Just crossed the line with a very good time as he came across the line there. The time of Postuma was just around about 10 seconds, I think, off the lead. A lot of riders going out very quickly, but fading out towards the end. The big names coming back at the end of the afternoon. We've got George Hincapie starting last. Before him, David Zabriskie, Michael Rogers, the world time trial champion. He starts 3 from the end. So, Phil, there's an awful lot of big names still to come.
Well, we're looking at the moment, one of the big names possibly of the future of the Tour de France, Frank Schleck here, last year's champion of Luxembourg. And his team now, of course, without the leader, Ivan Basso. People are actually saying that this man might have one of his best ever rides. It's his first Tour de France today, and he's on his very first moment of it. Nice steady start at the moment. So as the race continues, it's the race for the yellow jersey today, and that is all that matters. Best time takes home the maillot jaune, and that is what is important. Last year, of course, it was David Zabriskie. Will he do it again?
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Lenovo, maker of ThinkPad, including the ThinkPad tablet and ThinkPad widescreen, and by Honda, committed to safety for everyone.
The Lenovo ThinkPad tablet, powered by Windows XP Tablet PC Edition.
Ingeniously designed to help protect the things that need protecting. Energy-absorbing ACE body structure, standard on the all-new Civic. Only from Honda.
Bedhead. Proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. A unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team. And leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
July 16th, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the five-time WTT champs, Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis, presented by Advanta. July 16th at 11:30, only on OLN.
Yeah, no, I gotta go. Yeah, I'm getting on. I totally spaced on that one. That was bad. Let's just use your Capital One no hassle card.
Protect yourself with Capital One's low rates and great rewards.
I am so good.
What's in your wallet?
You've got a lot of stuff to paint, but not a lot of time. The new Wagner Power Painter with innovative lock-and-go cartridges lets you go from staining to painting in a snap. Wagner, paint fast, paint smart.
And welcome back to the streets of Strasbourg here. Still no change in the overall classification. This is a sudden dash of 7 kilometers, a very simple format. The best time on the day will take away a leader's yellow jersey. As the riders now continue to go on the start line, as we watch here, the Cofidis rider make his departure. And you see the size of the crowd here as these riders start to break away. And as we look here now at one rider making his way gently into the finish, this is Ralph Grabsch here, the brother of Bert. Let's go to Frankie Andreu, who's down on course to tell us about it.
This year's Prologue course is very different than last year's course, which was dead straight and very windy. This year it's a technical course. A lot of very fast corners and very tricky transition areas going from a big boulevard down to a very narrow connecting street to connect to the other roads. This year, to win this race, you're going to have to take a risk in the corners, not hit the brakes, control your nerves so you don't make mistakes, and of course, go as fast as you can from the start to the finish. I think it's a great course for the Americans. I think David Zabriskie has a very good chance of doing well, but at the finish, The difference between winning and losing is only going to be seconds, and it's going to go to whoever can control their speed the fastest through these corners.
Thanks, thanks, Frankie. Watch out there, boy. That looks a bit dangerous on that bend with the riders zooming round behind you as the course is now in action here. This is Ralph Grabsch. Best time still being held by Sebastian Lang, and the only man remotely approaching it was Stuart O'Grady, but he failed by 0.13 of a second to top the leaderboard. The Australian will be sad about that. Well, a lot of effort here. Grabsch riding very, very strong in the Milran team here, without their top man, but also they have Eric Zabel, great old Eric Zabel, who'll be mixing it into the sprints. Remember, tomorrow should be a sprinter's day, and that's the first chance to see the bloodhounds of this race in action.
Well, the madmen, the men who take their lives in their hands every time they come into the last 200 meters of racing. Grabsch slipping away quite a bit, but he's a strong rider, as you say, Phil. He's the kind of man who will be leading out Eric Zabel, who's looking to try and win the green jersey competition for a 7th time, which is really quite remarkable.
Well, outside of 9 minutes there for Grabsch, so not setting Strasbourg alight. It is very, very hot here today, and this effort of 7 kilometers requires all of the hard work to get maximum out of the body. Well, this beautiful part of the Alsace, before the First World War, we would have been sat in Germany, now handed back to France. Watching here now, Jérôme Pinot head towards the line, Frenchman. Big for Brugger there, 21st at the moment, still holds the record for the fastest prologue in the Tour of Italy, but hasn't really refound that form in recent seasons.
Well, Phil, it's just gone past 3 o'clock here local time, and it will be 10 minutes past 4 local time when George Hincapie comes into the starting gate. He'll be the last man to start, replacing his former teammate, Lance Armstrong.
Well, just looking at the faces here of these riders, Kinziato here now dashing up to the line, and he really looks rather determined, doesn't he? They've seeded the riders, of course. The best men presumably are in the last 10 or so to go. That includes the last man to go is George Hincapie, last year's winner. Zabriskie is the second to last ride to go. Kinziato coming up. A good ride nonetheless by Manuel Kinziato. 5th place on the line, 8:29, but nobody getting near the ride of Seb Lang, or indeed the ride of the Australian Stuart O'Grady. Anyway, as we continue to watch the action here, as Sebastian Eno makes his go, let's have a look at something which you mustn't forget now as we join our 3 weeks of racing. Log on to OLNTV.com, fly to the finish every day during the tour for your chance to win a Saab 97X and Cervelo Solaris carbon bike. You can also win a yellow jersey, just like the one we use in the performance programs, and that'll be signed by me, Paul, and Bob Roll. Now, here's a look at today's code word, and the code word is cyclism. So we're looking at Larson now coming up towards the line. Another man who's on top of his form, another champion here of the time trial, just won his title in Sweden. Big effort this, and a good ride indeed, 8:34. And 19th place for Gustav Larson there. So as we await more action, let's go back briefly down to the start house here. And about to take his start is the De Vita Malotto rider, Johan van Summeren. Possibly the tallest man in the race, Johan, as he rushes off down the Boulevard Place Bordeaux. Sitting rode his Tour de France last year. He's a big lead-out man, this man, for Robbie McEwen when it comes to the sprints, and they will start tomorrow in the mass start races. So, okay, well, let's remember that throughout the tour, we are going to be checking in with Lance Armstrong. And today, Lance is going to tell us all about the Prologue time trial. Lance is going to be with us every day.
Winning the Prologue in '99 and first yellow was special. Emotionally, it was the biggest day for me. I was completely surprised, and I was I was very emotional that day, and it was great to come back and to do something that we wanted to do, but also a little bit on a revenge level. It was nice to come back to the teams that never gave me the chance. Back in 97, 98, it was nice to be able to say, okay, check it out. For me, the prologue was always really important. It's the way that you start the race. It's the tone you set for the race. It's whether you show up and say, I'm ready or I'm not ready. If you just gained 2 seconds on somebody, I mean, the emotion and the feeling behind gaining 2 seconds versus losing 2 seconds is huge. And then, I mean, you could compare it to, last year's prologue in catching a guy like Ulrich. I mean, psychologically, that was a good blow, I think.
American Century Investments, mutual funds and institutional money management for more than 45 years. So we're still looking here now at the Rabobank riders as they continue to make their one-on-one attempts. This rider here is Michael Bogart. He is the new road race champion of Holland. A long time since he's earned that title. And it was, in fact, his first win of the year. But Bogart now a rider who could well have a great Tour de France. He's certainly had them in the past. So this is Michael Bogart then, who's riding today his 11th Tour de France. Just looking here at Michael Bogart coming in, Paul. He's won stages before at Aix-les-Bains in 1996. Oh, beg your pardon, this is Inigo Landaluz. We've switched to the other end of the course here. The arrival of Inigo Landaluz, who is on the Euskaltel-Euskadi team. He surprised everybody with a big win in the Dauphiné Libre last year. He slipped away from it at the moment, and he slipped away from the leaderboard there too. Only the 36th best time for Landaluz. And at the moment, not hearing any improvement on the midway times. So Sebastian Lang of Germany and Gerolsteiner riding exceptionally well to hold the lead, albeit by just 13/100ths of a second over Stuart O'Grady. As we go back to Sebastian Eno, no relation, by the way, to the great Bernard Eno, who's now part of the organisation here, and you'll see him on the podium later this afternoon, I'm sure. Sebastian Eno, Paul, riding now his 8th Tour de France.
Very experienced bike rider. He's been around for a number of years, and to have that kind of experience is very important for a team. Especially, it's going to be important over the first few days for Thor Hushovd, who is the big sprinter on the Crédit Agricole squad.
So here comes Eno up towards the line now. 8:45 and counting. 8:21 sits best time, and Eno's not going to upset this at all. He finished 115th in the Tour de France last year. Nothing wrong with that. He comes in this time 59th of the men who have finished at the moment. Some 100 riders are home now. So pen and paper out and see if you can answer this question. It's time for a look at today's Subway trivia question. Who was the last American rider to win a Tour de France prologue? Was it A, Lance Armstrong, or was it B, Greg LeMond? And we've got two more to show you. Is it C, George Hincapie, or D, David Zabriskie? We'll have the answer for you after the break.
And so they came. The office plants. They left behind the cubicles of the commoditized, enticed by the allure of the innovators. For the office plants, they knew that innovation brings growth, and only in growth do all pots get watered. IBM, innovation for growth.
The sky is perfect blue, no cloud could spoil the view. It's a sign. from above that shows that we're in love.
That is sweet.
My pride and joy.
It looks new.
Like right out of the showroom.
That is one great looking.
Whoa, hold on, honey. Showing Tom the floor.
Nice floor, Joan.
Make your garage floor the envy of the neighborhood with Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield, America's best-selling premium garage floor coating. Just prep and go. Simple as painting a wall. Easy to clean and resist peeling. This all-inclusive kit is available at home centers, hardware stores, and automotive retailers near you. For a high-gloss showroom finish, top coat with Epoxy Shield premium clear coating.
Hi, everybody. I'm Yolanda, telling you that Comcast high-speed internet is worth it. Worth it to download quicker, to win auctions in the last second, and worth it to help with that homework. You can have high speed, surfing up to 100 times faster. Want all the worth it of Comcast high-speed internet? Check this out.
Call 1-800-COMCAST today and get high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. Plus, get a self-install kit for just $1.
Comcast high-speed internet gets a thumbs up from Oxygen and a W for worth it.
One leprechaun, one pot of gold. 6 leprechauns, 6 pots of gold. 1 is good, 6 is better.
Especially for NASCAR. Experience it like never before by adding 6 channels of in-car coverage and live team audio with NASCAR In-Car. Only on digital cable. Tune into a free preview of NASCAR In-Car during the Pepsi 400 on Saturday, July 1st. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
Welcome back. Well, we asked you who was the last American rider to win a Tour de France prologue. Some of you will have said, I'm sure, David Zabriskie, but that was not a prologue last year. It was the opening day of the race. So what is the answer? Of course, Lance Armstrong, back in Luxembourg in 2002, I think it was. So that was a surprise for you. Now back to the action here in Strasbourg today. A prologue over 7 kilometers. No change at all in the leaderboard. Sebastian Lang, the time trial champion of Germany for just a week, is setting best mark at 8:21. We're looking at Michael Bogart. We're expecting a good time off Bogart, but I will be surprised if he gets up to the time of Lang. He's getting a little bit older than Sebastian Lang. He's not quite as rapid. There's the standings confirmed. 8:21 also for O'Grady. He is, in fact, 0.13 of a second slower. Vladimir Karpitz is in 3rd place. Sergei Honchar, former world time trial champion, is 4th. And it's been a very good ride by Kinziato of Italy too. He's come in there in 5th place. Still good effort here by Michael Bogart as he continues. It's a good crowd, this, Paul, and again, the Tour de France has proved that no matter what you seem to throw at it, the race is bigger than anything that might come its way in the form of a drug allegation or anything else.
Well, Phil, when you look at an event that's been on the calendar for over 103 years, it's been around for so long for a reason. And I think the reason is because it's popular. It may well have had its scandals, but what sport hasn't had its scandals over the last 40 or 50 years? But this one has got such a history. It's steeped in history. The French love this event, and I think that's why they turn out whatever the scandal is that's thrown, because at the end of the day they know these riders that we're looking at here this afternoon are going to suffer over the next 3 weeks, physically and mentally.
Well, as we look at Bogart heading up to the line here, already outside the time of Lang. Now, there's a lot of top names still to go in the last 20 riders, by the way. The last man to start will be George Hincapie of the USA, and the man that won stage 1 time trial last year, David Zabriskie, is also an American, will go second to last. But also, David Miller will go in the last 20 riders, and he will go, in fact, just 1 minute before the other British rider in the race, Bradley Wiggins. So they will go in the last 12 riders or so today, and believe me, this time of Sebastian Lang may well be broken away. Here comes Popovic as he continues just over the halfway for him now towards the finish. So Jaroslav Popovic just tried to do a reasonable time here today. His race will start once we get down to the longer time trials on the mountains, but he's riding pretty good. He's to the halfway point there. The best time there, Jos Postuma, 4 minutes and 6 seconds is the situation at halfway. Postuma in, but not in the places now. Well, let's also remind ourselves that tomorrow, OLN's original series, the IPT King of the Hill 8-ball shootout, will continue. All the famous hustlers hope to rack up $1 million, and that's the richest payday in the history of the sport. The IPT King of the Hill 8-ball shootout tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on OLN. Looking now at rider number 11 out on the course. That would have been the number indeed that Ivan Basso would have been riding. As we swing away now out further on the course, he's now being worn, of course, by Bobby Julich. Jaroslav Popovic, who is also on the American Team Discovery team without Lance Armstrong this year. And the team have to totally rethink the way they ride this race now. Instead of having one likely winner in Armstrong, there are likely 4 riders on the team who could lead this squad. The shadows there, Paul, telling us just what a warm, beautiful day it is here. The Prologue time trial running earlier than usual because of the upcoming football match over in nearby Germany between England and Portugal, and so they started early and will finish early. And these boys have caught the heat of the day.
They have caught the heat of the day. Normally the prologue starts around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so these riders will certainly have to make sure they've kept themselves hydrated in the warm-up period, because we know it takes an awful long day to get yourself ready for a prologue time trial. As much as 2 hours of preparation. When you get into the starting gate, you've got to have your heat up to 180 beats a minute. This is
man might have it.
It's a good ride by Sinkovic. I think he'll fade down towards the end, because you know this is a very long finishing straightaway, but it's going to be a very good time. Just gone outside the best time of Lang, but again you can see the Germans, Phil, on the crest of a wave, I suppose because they survived the World Cup soccer last night and just managed to scrape through in that.
Well, Sinkovic is in. He's a very good rider. He's moved across to T-Mobile, didn't please Quick Step, and he wants to do a good ride in the Tour de France. As we now move a little bit further down the course here to Sylvain Chavanel. He is the time trial champion of France, and the French riders will want to do something in this race for sure today. So Chavanel, he finished 58th last year. A bit of a disappointment, I think, because this rider often talked about as a man of the future, but hasn't quite delivered the goods yet. Big cheers, of course, for him when he slips down the start ramp.
Big day for the French as well in the World Cup, because they're also coming out this weekend to try and get themselves into the semi-finals. Chavanel is a brilliant individual time trialist as we go to the finish line. This is a very good ride by Bobby Julich. I don't think he's going to knock Sebastian Lang off the top of the leaderboard, but it's an indication that Bobby Julich, once again, Phil, is a specialist at this kind of effort.
Take a look at his face, Paul. This man is really now the leader of CSC with the absence of Ivan Basso. He came here to help Ivan Basso. Now he's the leader of the squad and carries the leader's number 11, because the numbers were all rehashed last night. 16th place, he won't be unhappy with that.
Well, he won't, Phil, and actually a very good point you make there, because he actually has axed his whole season this year on being ready to support Ivan Basso in the Tour de France, so maybe his performance here is going to be fairly good. It's a good indication, that time trial there, that Bobby Julich may well take over the mantle as leader of this team. But this is a good ride here again by Jaroslav Popovic coming into the finishing straight.
Look at this man go now. Popovic can ride a time trial there. You see he wears the Armstrong yellow band on his sleeve as he is now Team Discovery. There's 4 riders fighting really for a plan to lead this team as we go down towards the mountains, but that's still nearly 14 days away. Popovic now wants a good time to tell himself he has the form to go forward. He races up to line. It is a good ride. He'll be outside the top 5 though, but he won't be unhappy with this because he's not a short distance specialist. He can ride a good time trial over the longer distances, and they await the riders further down the road. 18th at the moment for Popovic.
18th for him, but the times that he registered out on the course will be communicated to the other riders of Team Discovery Channel later on, so that they have something to aim for when they get out onto the open road themselves.
Well, as the riders continue here now, this on course here is Didier Rousse, as we switch away very quickly now to Sylvain Chavanel, the new time trial champion of France. As they keep a steady line here, they just keep themselves very solidly still on the saddles, pump with those legs. These boys are time trial specialists, and the time trial specialist is still about to start. And I'm talking about David Zabriskie. He shocked last year with a win and the yellow jersey. He still might do it again, and he is still to start. We'll see you in a moment.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong
for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Who is Floyd Landis? He's cycling's tough guy. So tough, in 2003 he broke his hip and still helped Lance get wins 5 and 6. Now the Pennsylvania native has his own team. And when his role as leader was questioned, Floyd had 3 responses. The cyclism, the men who would be king, Tour de France, continues tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. live, only on OLN.
Jack Link's Beef Jerky presents Messin' with Sasquatch. Jack Link's Jerky. Feed your wild side.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. And by LLB, official outfitter of OLN.
Welcome back, everybody, to the mid-afternoon heat of the Prologue time trial, the opening day of the Tour de France, as the riders now continue to make their start. This is Axel Merckx here, says to be riding his final season as a professional cyclist, son of the great Eddie Merckx, and he won't put too much into this time trial. He's not a specialist at this, but of course other riders are. As we move out further down the road, we're looking now at Sylvain Chavanel, the champion of France, continuing on his way around. But you know, there's no change at all in the overall classification at the moment. Still Lang on top of the leaderboard ahead of O'Grady. One man who could upset everybody, though, is our Capital One athlete profile today. I'm talking about, of course, David Zabriskie. In the perfect position here to take this one. Now he digs in. The quick step Reimer. Desperate finish. Tom Bowden, the world champion. Now he's gone for the inside. Tom Bowden gets his first victory in the Tour de France. Tom Bowden is an absolute powerhouse.
Bowden, well, the guy could win the Tour in 5 minutes.
Well, apologies for that, but we'll do that later. And that was our Capital One athlete profile. So we're looking now a start there by a rider from De Vitamin Lotto. As we continue now on here with Sylvain Chavanel. The crowd issued the kilometre sign now for this. No reports on how he's going out there on the course, but it's going to take him much more than a minute to reach the finish. He's gone under that kilometre kite, so he's not going to be far away from the time of Serge Lang here, the German champion. But it's an awful long way down the streets here in Strasbourg, as Sylvain Chavanel now races for at least the top 5 position. And he could well take a top 5 position here, Paul, because he's running up towards the line now. 8:21 for Lang. Chavanel has got 20 seconds to get up this home straight. This could be a good start for the French and give them something to cheer here in Strasbourg as he turns for the line now. He's still got time on his side here. The champion of France at the time trial has done a ride here, I think, in the heat of the midday sun. As he races up to the line, oh, it's just going to slip away. He swings into the home straight now, but he'll start to drop very quickly. Remember that the top 2 are split by 1300ths of a second. The Australian O'Grady and Lang. As Chavanel races up to the line, he's now slipping away rather quickly.
Well, I'll tell you what, Phil, it's an awful long way from that final corner. You're going to wait, I think, until we see the last men come off. Chavanel, the champion of France in the time trial, losing 18 seconds. Not big chunks of time being lost here this afternoon. I think we've got to wait for the big specialists in the last 3 or 4 riders.
The face there of Chavanel, rather, as he comes up. He's really a specialist of the longer time trial, and it's told today you've got to be so quick. You've got to race in the region of 32 miles an hour if you're going to get anywhere near the leaderboard, and you've got to hold that all the way around the course, which is just over 4 miles. As we look down on the Notre Dame here, which is the beautiful cathedral, very famous it is too, right in the centre of Strasbourg. The time trial continues, and the real big names are still to come.
Real shooters, real rules, real cash. The world's greatest players, Hall of Famers and hustlers, battle it out for the richest payday in the history of the sport. Over $1 million in prize money. But to rack up that kind of cash, they better bring their 8 game.
Come on, you country redneck.
It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout, a new OLN original series. An all-new episode Sunday at 7 Eastern, only on OLN.
It's showtime.
Time trialing is all about aerodynamics. The biggest contribution that a frame can make is to shield the rear wheel. That's why Cervelo uses this cutout that follows the exact width of the rear wheel and goes up as high as possible.
What good is an SUV that can go everywhere if you can't afford to go anywhere? At 28 miles per gallon highway, the Subaru Outback has better fuel efficiency than any midsize SUV and the safety of all-wheel drive standard. Cashback and 0% financing on the Subaru Outback.
Own the year's most explosive DVD, The Matador. Critics say grab this one by the horns and enjoy the ride. It's the best performance Pierce Brosnan has ever given.
My business is my pleasure. Sometimes people need to be eliminated.
The Matador, only Tuesday on DVD.
One chick, one chicken dinner. 6 chicks, 6 chicken dinners. 1 is good, 6 is better.
Especially for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing. Now you can add not just 1, but 6 channels of in-car coverage, plus data, telemetry, and team audio, all with NASCAR in-car, only on digital cable. Order today for just $69. Call 1-888-COMCAST today. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
They came. They stood toe-to-toe. They fought their hearts out.
I was a better man all night long. Most people didn't see it that way.
Mosley dominated the early rounds. Vargas ruled the later rounds. Had it not been stopped, who knows what would have happened.
I beat him the first time, and I'm going to beat him again. This time, I'm going to knock you out.
Mosley Vargas, the rematch, Saturday, July 15th, live on Events in Demand pay-per-view.
Order Mosley versus Vargas 2, live July 15th on Comcast.
And welcome back to the heart of Strasbourg here as Jens Voigt just makes his start here. The man who won a stage of the Electro Tour in Holland in June. That's last month now as we start July the 1st today with the Tour de France. He didn't finish last year, which is very unusual for Jens because he is such a great competitor. Well, we've still a lot of the big names to come. The big name, Dave Zabriskie, who won the time trial last year. Well, he's our Capital One athlete profile. Here he is.
Who is now looking at trying to win this stage is Lance Armstrong, Phil, and he's in the final bend.
have imagined pulling that jersey on.
Zabriskie at 20.51. It's going to be close. 47, 48, 49.
I think a lot of people have.
50, 51. Zabriskie's won the stage. Zabriskie has won the stage. Armstrong finishes second. Can you believe that?
To actually do it is pretty cool.
The boy in yellow, Zabriskie, is itching to get through. He's such a strong man.
We were going as hard as we could. Like, we had to go full gas that last kilometer.
This is very difficult through here now as we go through the S's and they approach the line.
And then I fell down.
What is happening?
It was over for me.
The yellow jersey has hit the bend. Well, that is it.
He has lost the yellow jersey with that horrible crash.
I tried as hard as I could to stay in the race, but it just wasn't happening.
I mean, Zabriskie's obviously a big engine. I mean, he's a guy that if you just got over this fear of being in the bunch and fear of crashing, you know, the possibilities are potentially endless.
That's our Formula 1 athlete profile. Dave Zabriskie, an extraordinary time trial rider. There's some more information for you. He's 27, stands at 6 foot, and stage winner on stage 1 of last year's Tour de France, and he held the yellow jersey till, as you saw, he fell off. But he's a 2-time stage winner this year in the Dauphiné Libre, and that's a good indication to us. He's on form, and he's still to start, of course, as we go back down to the action now. And we rejoin Robbie McEwen here now as he continues. He's gone through. This is Axel Merckx approaching the finish. Biting his tongue there, Merckx, as he heads up. Not a bad ride. He's a very experienced bike rider, Axel Merckx, and might well retire at the end of this season, but right now looking for another journey around France. Very respectable, and that's about all you can say for that, Paul.
Well, 71st, losing himself around about 33 seconds. He's not really the specialist at this kind of effort, but I'll tell you what, Phil, Robbie McEwen, starting a minute behind Axel Merckx, has actually done a very good time. He wants to keep himself within 15-20 seconds of the winner of the stage this afternoon, because what Robbie McEwen's thinking of, not of the victory here this afternoon, but a yellow jersey a little bit further down the road.
Well, this is a man who's won 154 races in his racing career, and now he's still turning out a useful time trial because he's thinking if he can snick a few time bonuses in the next few days, if he race through Germany, onwards through Luxembourg, Holland, Belgium, roads he knows so well, then he could be in the Maillot Jaune a couple of days down the track. He's losing. We didn't expect him to match up with the time of Sebastian Lang, but he's crossed the line there. 39th, just 23 seconds off the pace. So, as we look there at the face now of Robbie McEwen, concentrating, let's remind ourselves of what is happening here as we continue our coverage of the Tour de France. And the Tour de France tomorrow becomes a battle of the sprinters. McEwen will be there, probably Tom Bonen, Eric Zabel, you name them. These are the valiant, strong men of the Tour de France. You can watch it live with us, and also prime time at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific. The Tour de France tomorrow is a mass start race, and the sprinters will be at it. As we look down now on the tributaries here of the River Ilf, which courses through the centre of Strasbourg in many different directions. I think there are 5 different fingers to the river here. As we look around at the centre of the Palais de Congrès, which is where we are all based on the finishing line here, is the Notre Dame. And now the race goes on. George Hincapie warms up. He is the last to go. Keep going, George. We want a good time out of you. We'll take a break.
Who will be the first to wear yellow? The tour begins with a prologue which could propel a rider into a big lead or send someone spinning. Tour de France Enhanced, tonight at 8 on OLN. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. Sampras and the Breakers take on the 5-time champion Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis, July 16th at 11:30, only on OLN.
Come and save at Circuit City's Red, White, and Blue sale. This Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, get no interest till 2008 on all purchases $299 and up. Plus, all digital cameras, camcorders, and home audio are on sale. And get up to 10% off TVs at Circuit City.
The German word for safe is sicher.
Portuguese word for firewall is muro de fogo. The Chinese word for password is mima. My company's in 17 countries now, and I can say secure in every one of them.
Dynamic networking from AT&T identifies security threats before they're problems, so Jane's confidence grows right alongside her company. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorb are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Every day, workers across America cover our good name with dirt, dust, paint, oil, grease, and mud. And you know what? We're fine with that. Dickies, a legend in work.
And welcome back to Strasbourg. We're watching the opening prologue time trial of this year's Tour de France. 142 riders have now gone of the 176. That's the situation. It's been that way for more than 30 minutes now. And this rider won't upset it, I don't think. This is Gilberto Simoni making his run now. Twice a winner of the Giro d'Italia. Jens Voigt, though, let's see what he does as he swings up to the home straight, because Voigt has a real chance here of racing up to the line and getting a good time. And Voigt here, now 34 years of age, as he comes up, but he's gone past the time now of the leader on the board, Lang. It'll still be a reasonable ride, but not quite the ride I expected out of Jens. It's probably a little bit short for him. Again, he's a man of distance rather than short, snappy time trials like this, and at nearly 35 years of age, the twitch fibers are probably getting a little bit slow. Voigt is in, though, top 30 for the moment. He won't stay there because the big names are still to go in this prologue time trial. These will be the orange shoes of Aymar Zubeldia, or the Euskaltel Euskadi rider, as he is now rider number 144 to be part of the 176 riders. Remember that all the top Americans are in the last 9 riders of the day, which means they are so highly respected as men who could deliver the best time. They try to seed the start order so the best men go at the back. They're not always right, but it does happen on most occasions. All right, well, as we watch a little bit of shakery cornering here from Gilberto Simoni, it is now time for the 10-2 moment, which is brought to you by Nike. This is the cancer. Remember Lance Armstrong here as he battled with cancer. The news reached us, we were all stunned. Then started the big fight back. Lance refused to give up. The doctors gave him 20% of life. He said, no, I'll take it all, thanks very much. His head was shaven, the chemotherapy. He was determined to get back on that bike, and then he returned to the Tour de France in 1999. Boy, was Armstrong back with a win in the prologue. Johan Brunel, his first Tour of a manager. He had a winner on his hands. Lance kept the lead all the way to the finish, the first of 7 victories. Of course, there were little ups and downs on the way, but that's our 10-2 moment. And that's brought to us by Nike as we go back down now to the main road here in Strasbourg. Gilberto Simoni on his time trial bike today, continuing to race towards the line. He's just approaching the halfway mark of the course here. Well, he looks very quick, Paul, but you can tell he's really a pure climber when you see him side on there. This man is an angel of the mountains and doesn't really like these flat time trials. This is Filippo Pozzato. His locks are tucked under his crash helmet there. Now, he again is a man that we're going to see a lot more of when we get out on the open highways.
Winner of the first big classic of the year, Milano-San Remo. You'll see a lot of him as well looking after Tom Bonen, because he will be part of Tom Bonen, the world champions lead-out train. Tom Bonen already a winner this season of 17 races. Bonen, like McEwen, Phil, will be happy to get out onto the open road tomorrow. But Pipo Bazzato, given his own chance, has got a chance of taking individual stages. He's won a stage here at the Tour de France in the past.
Yes, a very popular rider, this Italian too, and he's on a Belgian team, which is strange too. Italians like to race in Italy a lot more often, but he likes the roads here in Europe, especially in this part of Europe. So Bazzato is underway, and still nobody approaching the top 5 placings overall. So this is a nice view here of just how fast these boys can ride here. A massive crowd. It is all around this 7-kilometer course. All right, well, here's something for you to note, and it's going to be our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. So don't forget to log on to olntv.com, fly to the finish every day, join the tour for your chance to win a Saab 97X and Cervelo Soloist carbon bike. You can also win a yellow jersey, just like the one we use in our performance predictions. It'll be signed by me, Paul Sherwen and Bob Roll. And here's a look at today's code word: cyclism. The arrival, or the departure rather, of Florent Brad here. Another rider who was controversially dismissed by his team a few years ago when he rode for the Crédit Agricole squad. Came bouncing back in big style last Sunday by winning the French Road Race Championship. He rides now on the Spanish team, Case d'Apan, so he's going to be up alongside one of the big favourites now for this year's Tour de France, Alejandro Valverde. And he'll be looking to help him, but today he'll ride for himself. He's a very good time trial rider. He was the time trial champion of France back in 2001. Well, we're getting into the last 20 riders or so to go. Among it sit all of the Americans. This man will be the second last to go. Dave Zabriskie. Will it be another great day for him? We'll know soon.
The Tour is won in the off-season.
The man doing great times out on the course, Phil, is Lance Armstrong.
Well, he's been scorching it all the time, Checks. What a comeback. Armstrong is the leader. And he looks so good here, making his big return to the Tour de France. Is a brilliant prologue rider. He's proved to that in the past. Everybody here is banging on the boards and shouting his name as he races towards the line, and he's going to get it. Lance Armstrong has won the prologue. There he is, 6 times the winner. Armstrong has galloped across a gap of almost 1 minute, and he could be putting Jan Ullrich out of the Tour on day number 1. This is unthinkable.
Brought to you by Trek Bicycle's new Equinox TTX 9.9, equipped with Bontrager wheelworks and components.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
The 2 Action Sports Tour's Right Guard Open is coming back. Kids' tickets are half price, and adults can save big with advanced ticket purchase to catch all of the world's best action sports athletes. Plus, check out the interactive Festival Village's House of Doom, skateboard, motocross, and BMX parks, and more. And don't miss 30 Seconds to Mars, live in concert Friday, July 14th. The 2 Action Sports Tour, the Pro Tour of Action Sports returns July 13th through the 16th, inside and outside the Pepsi Center.
At Geico.com, you can handle all your car insurance needs online. It's so easy, a caveman could do it. Seriously, we apologize. We had no idea you guys were still around.
Yeah, next time maybe do a little research.
Gentlemen, are we ready to order?
I'll have the roast duck with the mango salsa. I don't have much of an appetite, thank you.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Here we are, and as we look back down at the action of the Tour de France, this aerial view is brought to you by Trek. The Court of Human Rights, which is centred here in European centre of Europe, which is Strasbourg. As we go back out to the start house now, as the riders continue to go here. This is Eric Decker, possibly riding his final Tour de France. Eric, one of the grand old men of the Tour over the years, and today Decker is going to enjoy this if it is to be his last one. Decker starts off now. This will be his 12th departure in the Tour de France, and over the years he's managed to triumph 4 times on the stages. He won at Villeneuve-sur-Lot, Revel, Lausanne in Switzerland, all in the same year, and he also won in Pontarlier back in 2001. Hasn't won anything since, but this man is to be reckoned with. I don't think today, though, he's not the sort of rider who will turn out a great time. No change at all in the top 5 riders overall. Still Lang heading up the leaderboard. Well, we were there the year that Eric won those 3 stages, Paul, in Villeneuve-sur-Lot, Revel and Lausanne, and he won them in so different styles.
So many different styles. Once was in a small group of a couple of riders, once was a good group of around about 25 riders, and once was almost a bunch sprint because he was getting caught down towards the end. Pipo Pozzato might cause a bit of a surprise here, Phil, as he's out on course. He's a man, I think, who's got the ability. He's a young rider, great talent for the future for Italy. And he actually won Milan-San Remo this year, sort of by default, because he was actually going out on an attack to defend his teammate, Tom Boonen, and he ended up in the winning breakaway.
Back out on course, Heimo Zubeldia. And he's also, at this point, appears to be coming home with a very respectable time. Top 30 finish for him now. Another rider from the Euskartel-Euskadi team. These riders just hang on in the Tour de France till they get to their beloved mountains, and then they are a different type of bike rider. Yes, just outside the top 30, in fact, 20 seconds off the pace, so Zubeldia is in. That's 144 riders are now in. There are 32 riders still to finish, as we now move back out to see Stefan Guber of AG2R. So let's just see Guber launch himself, AG2R. They, of course, have lost their team leader in the controversy of the last 48 hours, Francisco Mancebo. So they're now racing a totally different tactical race than they came to the Tour to so do. Christophe Moreau will now be their man to lead them around France. Well, here's something new for you. Every Thursday, OLN comes out swinging with Fight Night. The hard-hitting action includes live bouts and Bob Allen's top rank and legendary battles, which will feature all-time greats like Ali, Leonard and Hearns. Fight Night premieres live Thursday, July 27th on OLN. Just looking here at Philippe Pozzato as he races up towards the line. Still no improvement on the times as we get in now to the last 25-26 riders. Further departures here from the line now as one rider getting underway again is Andreas Kloden. I'm just wondering, Kloden, who was a great helper for Alexander Vinokourov and Jan Ullrich a couple of years ago, although he preferred to help Jan Ullrich, that's for sure. Well, he hasn't got Ullrich on the team now, and he could well find himself having to do all of the riding himself. He's carrying number 21, Paul, which means he appears to be the team leader now in the absence of Ullrich.
Well, he's finished on the podium in the Tour in the past, and if the form is right, and it was right to help Jan Ullrich, he will have to take over the mantle of leadership. This is Pipo Pozzato coming into the finishing straight. Not a brilliant ride by him, but I think he'll be thinking too of individual stage victories a little bit further down the road.
Pozzato's in 54th, nothing sensational there from the flamboyant Italian on the Belgian Quick-Step team. As he drops away, we move back out on course here now. And I have to say that I'm surprised that all 5 places at the finishing line haven't at least reshuffled marginally, but they haven't. Florent Braud, I would have expected Florent Braud to have tickled that top 5, but you know he's not going to do so as he races towards the line. This is an extraordinarily good time by those top 5 finishers.
An extraordinary time. Let's not forget Sebastian Lang was recently crowned the national time trial champion of Germany, so he's obviously in brilliant form at this kind of effort. I wouldn't expect to see Florent Braud ride so well, and I don't think until we possibly see the arrival of Paolo Salvadelli will we see the time of Lang threatened at all.
So Braud comes up. I would be a little bit disappointed with this because he was the time trial champion of France once as he races home. He's going to hit the line here just inside the top 50 for the moment, but there's still 35 riders to come as we now go into the still face here of Paolo Savardelli of Team Discovery. So Paolo Savardelli makes his descent now. This will be an interesting move here as to whether he can produce a good time. He is a good prologue rider and he's also a very good climber. Well, this is a very exciting moment here, not least, of course, but for Bob Roll, who has tipped this man to win the prologue. Well, we'll see. It'll take him about 8 minutes to get round the course, and that's plenty of time for us to take a break. The big names, though, are still to come. We'll see you in just a moment.
The real-world testing we do here at Honda's Safety Research Center enables us to design products that provide exceptional protection for drivers, passengers, and pedestrians. Because what we learn in here makes a difference out there.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Because you do more. It does too. Live life to the ultra.
July 26th, OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. Go! The gender war is about to explode.
Picking them girls off one by one's what it's going to be about.
We're out for blood now.
Hot drama.
It's definitely personal. Screw you.
Molten tempers.
You're messing me up!
Steamy situations.
She's hot.
Guard! What are you doing? It's enough to cause an eruption. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
That is sweet.
My pride and joy.
It looks new.
Like right out of the showroom.
That is one great look.
Whoa, hold on, honey. Showing Tom the floor.
Nice floor, Joan.
Make your garage floor the envy of the neighborhood with Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield, America's best-selling premium garage floor coating. Just prep and go. Simple as painting a wall. Easy to clean and resist peeling. This all-inclusive kit is available at home centers, hardware stores, and automotive retailers near you. For a high-gloss showroom finish, top coat with Epoxy Shield premium clear coating.
Somewhere between two highways, there was a really good station. Somewhere between breakfast and lunch, there was a roadblock. Somewhere between the kids and the grandkids, there was a second childhood. And somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8. See you along the way. Get more rewards with Trip Rewards at Super 8.
Drive to Rewards at Super 8 and you can win a hot Chevy Uplander. For details, visit super8.com.
Welcome back. We're back with the riders in the prologue of the Tour de France. No change at all on the leaderboard. This is Andreas Kloden still out on course. We are now running into the last 16 riders to take the start today, and all of the top Americans are in this grouping now. There's the standings at the moment, the same as they have been for nearly an hour of racing. No one getting close to these times. I can assure you they will very, very shortly. Kloden then is out on course and looking for a good time. He's carrying the number that would have been worn by Jan Ullrich, but we all know the story about that situation now, as Kloden had just gone through halfway and continues on towards the finish now. Just before we get back down there on the streets with the action, let me remind you again about the Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. You'll learn all about it by logging on to olntv.com. Fly to the finish. A chance to win a Saab 97X and Servalo Soloist carbon bike. And remember, a yellow jersey signed by Paul, Bob and myself for Liggett as well. Here's a look at today's code word for you, and it is cyclism. So still with Cloden making his way. He still has about 2 kilometers to go. And so now we're moving out on course here. And this is Martinez.
Phil, half distance, Paolo Salvadelli has just gone through with the new best time, or first equal time, the same as Joost Postuma.
So Postuma, best time at half distance. What was it, Paul?
4:06 as well for Paolo Salvadelli, exactly the same time. You know, Salvadelli could create a little bit of a surprise here, because not too many people have been talking about him as a possible Tour de France winner.
Well, Paolo Salvadelli is no stranger to winning prologues. On his day, he is good. And now there is the situation at that check at 3.1. Postuma and Salvadelli at 4:05. Postuma, by the way, has slipped through. And other times that were good there, 4:06 for Kinzato and O'Grady. As we go now down into the start house here, as we're watching now the face of David Miller. David Miller now lines up for his new team. 5 days ago, he was ending a 2-year suspension, confessed for taking drugs. He has felt himself a cheat. He now wants to come back, and he says he can show us what he can really do. Well, there's no doubt in my mind Miller was wrong to take drugs, and he should never have done it, because this boy is a class cyclist.
He is a class act, Phil. I wonder what was going through his mind as he came off the starting ramp there. 2 years of purgatory he's been through. Now he has to prove to the world that he's a clean bike rider once again. This is Cloden. Not a bad ride for Cloden as he comes up into the finishing line. He's not going to dethrone Sebastian Lang from the top of the leaderboard, but he will finish at the moment in 12th place.
As we go back out then to David Miller. Miller knows he can win these prologue time trials. He won the opening stage a couple of years ago. In fact, in all, he's won 3 stages of the Tour de France, 2 of them time trials. He really should have been the winner of the Centenary Tour in Paris a couple of years ago. He pulled his foot or unshipped his chain and lost a few vital seconds. In the start house now, we should see the departure of Bradley Wiggins. There he goes. Well, Wiggins chasing David Miller, the only 2 British riders in the Tour de France, chasing one another over 7 kilometres. They are both specialists at this, and either one of them could win the day.
They certainly could. The man we're looking at, though, I think is a super specialist at this distance. Wears number 139. Wiggins has grown up on the tracks of the world, whether it's been Greece, whether it's been Manchester, whether it's been a World Championships. He knows how to put the effort in over this very short, violent distance of 7 kilometres. It is a specialist thing, and he, if there's a specialist left in the world to replace Chris Boardman, he has to be the man at the moment. But he has to come up to the mark at the Tour de France.
Well, he was awarded the OBE for his brilliant Olympic Games. He got a gold, silver and a bronze medal. And now he wants to find that sort of pure speed and try and take this. But I think this might be the new best time, Paul. This is now the arrival of Paolo Salvadelli on Lance Armstrong's team. Of course, Armstrong watching like everybody else today on television. And Salvadelli is racing up to the line. He's aiming at 8:21. It's going to be very, very close to Paolo Salvadelli. He's could be the best time here. He's going to be the first man for an hour to dislodge Lang. Paolo's, oh, he isn't. He's slipped away. But that's a huge effort as Salvadelli hits the line in 3rd place.
3rd place for Paolo Salvadelli. I bet you for a moment there he thought he was going to do it, but that's an indication that the man from Italy has got the form. A great ride by Paolo Salvadelli, but you know what, Phil, it's an awful long way, that last 200 meters from that last bend, and we're seeing so many riders just starting to crack. And in a prologue like this, if you crack, you lose yourself 4 or 5 seconds, and a second could win this race this afternoon.
Well, at the moment, 13/100ths of a second is winning it, because that's the gap between Lang and O'Grady. As now back in the house here, we go to Thor Hushovd. Well, the God of Thunder rolls off the start ramp. The man who became the first Norwegian rider to wear the green jersey and win it last year in the Tour de France.
Big strong boy as our Thor Hushovd. We'll see him do battle on the flatter stages as well with the likes of Robbie McEwen and Tom Boonen. But for the moment, we're seeing the finished line here of Martinez, a different Martinez, Jose Alberto Martinez. Not a great ride by him. He's faded a little bit over the last 4 kilometers. This is turning out to be a very warm afternoon here in Strasbourg, and that may well be the difference between winning and losing. We've seen riders' bodies react very strangely to the temperature, as Martinez here, for me, Phil, has slipped away and not produced the performance he produced in the month of March in the Criterium International.
Well, there's his time, 48 place. I'll tell you what, Paul, Serge Lang is going to feel very excited now. He's just seen a big man there in Savadelli not match his time. So let us continue now, the face of Tom Bone, and we won't see too much of Tom in the prologue, but we will in the big sprints. He's had 17 wins this year already, and still the top Americans to go. It won't be long now.
For 7 years, one man ruled the roads of France, but now his reign has ended, and the battle for his throne is about to begin. Who can follow a legend and create his own? Who can conquer the mountains and blaze through the trials? Who can survive the comparisons, the pressure, the fame? Who are the men who would be king? The Cyclism Tour de France 2006. Enhanced coverage tonight at 8 Eastern, only on OLN.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
I travel all over going to Scottish festivals, and I always stay at Motel 6. I get to rest, save money, and I'm very comfortable.
That makes one of us. We'll leave the light on for you and a Core Hotel.
Ken Shamrock very upset.
All I care about is getting in the ring and getting it on with Tito Ortiz.
I know he wants to fight me again, which I don't understand because last time we fought, I gave a beating.
I'm not going to lay down for anybody.
I hate the guy, and I know he hates me.
I demand respect, and if I don't get it, I'll take it.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship presents UFC 61, Bitter Rivals, live Saturday, July 8th on Events in Demand pay-per-view.
What can be better than watching all the incredible goals, great stars, and excitement of an MLS match? Watching well over 100 MLS matches this season. The only way to do that is by signing up now for MLS Direct Kick. For only $69, you can catch all the live action and drama the entire MLS season has to offer. Show your passion for the sport you love.
Welcome back. We're looking at an empty start house here where we want Floyd Landis to get up here pretty quickly. If he gets a late start, the clock won't wait for him. And the clock countdown has started. Now, this is sensational, this. This is Floyd Landis not appearing in the start house. The clock has started. So, where is he? There's the team car. Here comes Floyd. Immediately off. Now, he's lost seconds there. There's no recovering seconds. The clock starts. His official time is 16 hours, 3 minutes. He has lost 3 or 4 seconds there. Goodness knows it's happened before in the Tour de France, particularly with Pedro Delgado back in 1988. Delgado started the race on day 2, almost last overall.
Well, Phil, I've seen it before. Pedro Delgado has done it. So many riders have done it. And, you know, in this modern day of technology, everybody's got a pretty decent watch. You've just got to go to the starting house and set your watch to exactly the same starting time as the starters have. And you shouldn't miss the start like that at all.
Well, I'll tell you what, as we're looking here at Tom Bone, and Thor Hushoft has just gone through the halfway with the best time by 2 seconds quicker than Postuma. Now, that is a bit of a surprise to say the least, but not as big as the surprise concerning Floyd Landis.
Well, I'll tell you what, the time of Thor Hushoft is going to make a lot of people very happy, and this is the arrival of David Miller. It's not going to set the world on fire here this afternoon because it's around about 20 seconds from this last bend to the finish line, but he started his comeback, he started his attempt attempt to convince the world that he's back and he's clean and he's good.
Well, the thing is, 2 years out, cycling moves on. It's all well and good training and training hard, but competition is being missed here by David Miller. He'll get better, and he might be good for London in a year's time when the Tour starts. He's produced something 9 seconds slower. He's still 7th overall on his comeback day.
Phil, that's not bad. With 2 years of no competition in your legs to come back and do a performance like that, he's now got to settle down and think about how to get through the big, long stages that are going to face him over the next 3 weeks.
But we are now looking at Bradley Wiggins, Paul, and they were locked in virtually same time at the halfway check as they are now racing up towards the line. Denny Menchoff here, who won the Tour of Spain last year on the disqualification of Roberto Heras, now making his start. The big Russian could be a big challenger in this year's Tour now. He's en route.
Well, he's en route, he's on course. He too could be a very massive favourite as we go a little bit further up the road. I just had a quick calculation, looked at my watch there as we look at the back here of Damiano Cunego. I think Floyd Landis lost himself around about 8 seconds with that late start.
Yeah.
That could be vital at the end of the day.
Well, I heard the actual bleep go on the clock, and he wasn't even in the start out, so I'd say you're probably about right there.
Alejandro Valverde has just gone through with the same time as Thor Hushoff. This is the man who has this year won the Flèche Wallonne and of course Liège-Bastogne-Liège. He's regarded as the new best star for Spain. He's wearing the white jersey as leadership of the Pro Tour. This man is absolute class, Phil. Another rider from Spain who has not at all been implicated in what we know as the Operación Puerto.
Well, Alejandro Valverde, now back to Levi Leipheimer anyway. I will talk more about Valverde in a second. Leipheimer goes now, the Gerolsteiner. He has become a hot favourite in the last 48 hours to win the Tour de France, the American. He's just won the Dauphiné Libre race in fine style as a preparation race for this. Leipheimer now is also a great prologue rider.
You know, a couple of years ago, people said this was not a strong team, Team Gerolsteiner, but this year, Phil, they've had a brilliant season. They've won on all fronts. They started the year off well in the Tour of California. Levi Leipheimer won the prologue there over just 3 kilometres, but he's come to the Tour de France, I think, in the best condition that he's ever had.
Well, Wiggins has just crossed the line. Our cameras aren't under our control, of course, but he's crossed the line and taken the 7th place finish at the moment. He'll be disappointed with that, but in all honesty, his form has indicated a ride of that nature throughout this season. So he sits in 7th place at the moment. Now here's the man who might reshape this leaderboard if his start hasn't been too quick. He's still a way to go, and he's got 20 seconds to get in, but Hushoff is riding, and I think he may have slipped away here.
It's going to be very close, Phil, because it's around about 20 seconds from that final corner there. You can see the team manager in the car behind is going to be ballistic. It could be either way by a couple of seconds. It's going to be Thor Hushoff.
It's best time for Thor Hushoff. He's held it. He's held it by 4.8 seconds. A new leader. We've waited an awful long time to push Serge Lang off the top of the leaderboard, and it's the man who won this race on points a year ago. 8 minutes 17 puts him 4 seconds better than Lang and O'Grady on the leaderboard, and there are still 11 riders to finish.
I tell you what, Phil, there's going to be a lot of people very happy with that performance there as we go back down to the starting gate. World time trial champion now. 3 riders from the end. Michael Rogers, he's been the world time trial champion for 3 years. Now he's lining up for the Tour de France as possible co-leader of T-Mobile. For him, this is a big rendezvous.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Paul, as we look at the start of the world champion here, Floyd Landis has gone through the first check at 3.1 kilometres, 8 seconds slower than best time. We've estimated he lost 8 seconds.
Well, that makes him right up there with the leaders. It's all about how you finish this race off. Tom Boonen's coming up here. He's not going to rival the time of Thor Hushoff, but it's going to be a good time for this sprinter. Boonen is a very strange style indeed, but I tell you what, when this man wants to go fast, get out the radar gun.
Well, he's put himself in the frame for a yellow jersey in the next few days. A 7th place time for the world champion on the road, Tom Boonen. As it's all action out on the course now as these riders battle. Christophe Moreau, the leader of the French AG2R team. So this is Moreau, but what about Floyd Landis now? Because we're looking here at the face of Dave Zabriskie, the second last rider to go. This is all America now, remember. The last man is George Hincapie. Zabriskie was a big surprise last year when he won the time trial, but this time he won't be a surprise if he wins. Well, a big start here now by Dave Zabriskie, Paul, as he rolls off that start ramp. We switch back to the man who could again reshape the finish here, the arrival of Valverde. He was tied with Hushoff. Is he going to pip him? And I think the answer is no. If Valverde has slipped away and he's dropping out to possibly third as he crosses the line, well, Tor Hushoff could be shaking the foundations of everybody.
He could be creating a little bit of a surprise here this afternoon. The man known as a sprinter, as big and powerful. The man we're looking at here, though, Dave Zabriskie, is one of the most aerodynamic riders in the professional peloton naturally. He just seems to have the ability to get himself tucked right in there. See how close his arms are in the middle of the handlebars? Nicely arched back, the helmet built into his body. He's going through this road like a man possessed. He won the time trial last year, but that was 19 kilometers. This is a different kind of effort.
And back to the start house. The last man to go in today's stage of the Tour de France is George Hincapie. Rider 176. This man knows he's capable of great things. Last year, remember his brilliant win in the Pyrenees. Well, now, can he come home with a prologue time?
Big pressure to start last man in the Tour de France. He's replacing the man who retired at the end of last year's Tour, Lance Armstrong, but this man knows how to rise to big occasions. First chance to see here Floyd Landis. Phil, over 3.6 kilometers. He actually basically did exactly the same time as everybody else. He lost himself 8 seconds getting into the starting gate. Also a little bit of panic too, but he's ridden the first 3.6 kilometers as fast as Tor Hushoff.
And this is Damiano Cunego heading up towards the finish. We must put it into perspective here. Floyd Landis is not damaging his overall hopes in the Tour de France, but I think he might well have cost himself a victory in the prologue and a likely first yellow jersey. We'll know in a couple of minutes. This is Cunego coming up to the line now, and 8:57, 118th. Well, that's not really a serious win for the man who's done the Tour of Italy so well.
That is a long way down for Cunego. He obviously too is thinking a little bit further down the road. Now this is Floyd Landis. The time to beat on the finish line is the time of Tor Hushoff. You know, Landis is going to rue the moment, Phil, that he missed that start, because he is fairly close to the top end of the overall classification, and he started with an 8-second handicap.
Landis comes up to the line in the 5th best time, 9 seconds slower than Hushoff, and we think about 8 seconds late out of the start house. He would have been right in the podium board, but that's not to be, and he's pulled out something very special. The adrenaline, Paul, must have been pumping out of him.
It must have been absolutely pushing around his body. Tor Hushoff is now right at the top end of the overall standings. Langer has now been pushed down into second, 4 seconds in the rear, but this is Dave Zabriskie. Look at the way he goes round those corners rather tentatively, probably thinking about the team time trial last year when he crashed out of the yellow jersey.
Exactly. In the house finished 8:17 is Tor Hushoff, 4 seconds quicker than Lang, Valverde and O'Grady. This man is out to upset all of that now. He won a little bit longer. It was 19 kilometers the prologue last year in the west of France that opened the race. It's only 7 today. First chance to see Cadel Evans here now, a man who's thinking long term. The Australian rider from Victoria, who has had such a wonderful season. His first Tour de France last year, he finished 8th. He's staying right up amongst the front runners now as he races to the line. 10th best time for Cadel. That's a good start for him.
Good solid start for Cadel Evans. Like you said, Phil, it's more about what time is after 3 weeks for Cadel Evans. He's not too worried about a few seconds here this afternoon, just wants to get round safely. But look at the speed that Michael Rogers took that corner. This is a man who's a specialist. You've got to be pretty good to handle these bikes, by the way, because these bicycles are hybrids. They're not meant to be maneuvered round corners fast. They're supposed to go in a straight line. Once you come to the level of the sport that Michael Rogers has come, you've learned how to make yourself at one with this bike. But I tell you one thing, ever get a chance to ride one, they're pretty weird.
Well, Michael Rogers has been known to fall off in time trials. I wouldn't wish that on him right now as he races up towards the line. He's going to be very, very close because he too is free to fly now in the absence of Jan Ullrich.
4 seconds off at half distance for Michael Rogers, 9th time, but it's all about the last 4 kilometers as far as I'm concerned. Dosing your effort to perfection. Zabriskie has gone through with almost the best time. Zabriskie is a second off at 3.6 kilometers.
Yes, he's gone through with the 3rd best time, a whole second off the pace. That is nothing. He can lift that as we watch Menchov coming up towards the line now. He's not a time trial specialist, a good climber. Comes up 50th finish so far for him. We have now just 5 5 riders left to finish, and Thor Hushovd is still top of the leaderboard. But Zabriskie looks likely to be the challenger as the cameras switch now to Levi Leipheimer, who is the 5th rider on the road and the next man due in at the line.
Leipheimer using a massive gear here. Look at the crowds. I think the crowds have taken most of the oxygen away for these riders this afternoon. He's looking now at the time of Thor Hushovd. 8 minutes and 17 is the time to beat, but it's a long way from this corner. It takes around about 15 seconds, so he's not going to do that. So for Leipheimer, he's opening up his account here this afternoon. Let's not forget, as you said, not losing the Tour de France here this afternoon, but certainly not winning the prologue.
So Leipheimer comes home, stays up amongst all of the men that matter in the Tour de France over the next 3 weeks. He's just letting himself be known. He is in this race for sure. As he just gets inside the top 30. No, he doesn't. 31st place for him.
Phil, George Hincapie has just gone through 3.6 kilometers with exactly the same time as Zabriskie, exactly the same time as Thor Hushovd, and almost the same time as Alejandro Valverde. It's all going to be very, very close on the finish line.
Yeah, well, no, he's 1 second slower than Hushovd, but that doesn't matter. He can pick that up with a little bit of luck. He's the same time, though, as Zabriskie, that's for sure. Here comes Christophe Moreau. Once won this prologue time trial when we were over in Dunkirk when the Tour de France started there. It's not going to be today, though, because his time will run out. But it's another good ride by Christophe Moreau. He's changed teams this year. He seems to have found his old form, and he's riding much, much better. I think we'll see a lot of this man during the Tour de France, but it won't be on the podium today.
It won't be on the podium here this afternoon, but it's a good indication, the prologue time trial, of how the big contenders are doing. Stops the line there in 12th place. Not very many men left now can stop the man at the top, Thor Hushovd. Thor Hushovd now has probably only got to wait, Phil, for around about 3 minutes to see whether or not he's going to be the yellow jersey here at the Tour de France this afternoon, and that will be quite a surprise.
Well, here comes Michael Rogers, the world champion. Now he's out, not on the leaderboard in the first 5 riders at halfway. It's going to be a very good finish. I don't think he'll reach Hushovd, but he's not going to be far away. He's got 15 seconds. It's a long ride up from this bend, but Michael Rogers has come to the Tour de France in tremendous form. This is the best we've seen him for years. He's racing up to the line. You can see the clock like we can. Is he going to make it? He's just going to be outside as he comes to the line, but Michael Rogers has given us a world time trial performance today as he slots in 4th position for the world champion.
Great ride by Michael Rogers, just 6 seconds adrift. This is the last man on the road, the man who won a stage in the Tour de France last year, right at the summit of one of the biggest mountain passes. George Hincapie now riding on his own, closing down the opening day prologue of the Tour de France, representing Lance Armstrong, the man who won the race last year for a 7th time in succession, and he's not too far off the leaderboard at the top at 3.6 kilometers. He was only 1 second adrift. This is the arrival of Dave Zabriskie. It's all, Phil, going to be so very close, but I don't think Zabriskie's got enough time to get to the finish.
Well, he's gritting his teeth and he's concentrating. He's just looking at that finishing line now. He knows this could be a blink of the eyelid, could decide this race. Thor Hushovd, the former champion of Norway as a time trialist, once an under-23 world champion. Is he going to hang on and beat Zabriskie? It looks like it's going to be a lunge for the line. It's gone. It has gone by as Zabriskie races home. He drops in 2nd place. There's the margin. He lost time, in fact, over the last half of the race, and Hincapie has got him in his sights. Now this might be more dangerous. Hincapie may have stayed better.
Well, Hincapie's still got a fair way to go to the finish. He knows the time to beat now. He will have heard that over the race radio in his helmet. He's got to beat 8 minutes and 17 seconds. This could be the one, Phil, because he's coming into the little S-bends now, right down towards the finish. He's got this right-hander, then he's got the left-hander. It's around about 20 seconds from the left-hander. Look at the face, the concentration now on George Hincapie. He goes around. This is going to be an awful lot closer.
I think that Hincapie could be the man to spoil the Norwegian party here. This has been, he stayed the distance much better than Zabriskie. Hincapie has just got to that small amount of 10 seconds to the line, but I think it's close, but it's there. He can see the line. Hincapie's pulled this one out of the back. He's going to have to push over the line. He's got a second to do it. It's gone on the call. Less than 1 second. George Hincapie won't believe. He's grabbed his helmet. He's looked at the clock. He's lost that time trial by 73 hundredths of a second. The victor is Thor Hushovd.
Thor Hushovd, the big sprinter from Norway, has done the job here in this 7.1 kilometer ride here this afternoon, and I have to say, George Hincapie could see the time to beat. He faded a little bit over the last 100 meters or so, but that is a great indication that Hincapie is going to be a threat in the Tour de France this year. Hushoff probably won't be when we get to the mountains, but he will be the first yellow jersey.
There is Thor Hushoff saluting the crowd. He's been an under-23 world champion a little bit ago now. He's 28 years of age, Thor Hushoff. He won the points consistency jersey for the sprinters last year. Well, he has now taken the Prologue time trial. That is an extraordinary ride here now for this man, Hushoff. It's hugs and kisses here now for Thor Hushoff. They're all going to grab him. He's the only Norwegian cyclist of note, and he has turned professional in the year 2000. The result is Hushoff wins 8 minutes 17 seconds. Because they round up the seconds, he will win in the same time as George Hincapie. Zabriskie of the United States completes an American second and third. Lang, who led for so long, finally slots in fourth. Alejandro Valverde in fifth.
Yep, what a ride that was by Thor Hushoff. I have to tell you, a bit of a surprise because the man is much more renowned as a sprinter. But let's not forget, when he was an amateur, he was a very good individual time trialist. In fact, I think he was a national time trial champion for about 10 years when he was racing for Norway, and he wasn't too far off the win in the World Championships at this event either.
Well, this has been an extraordinary ride. We did say that we expected Zabriskie and Hincapie to be there, but I take my hat off to Al Trautwig today because he picked the winner, and Thor Hushoff has run out the winner of this Prologue time trial, and that is a superb ride. He's never threatened to do this before, though he has on many occasions been the time trial champion of Norway, and he was back in 1998 the world champion under-23 time trial rider as well. Look at that face. He pulled something special out. I thought for a long time that Lang had done the ride that was going to see us through to the finish. It was over an hour he held that race lead for. And then Strasbourg kept the best till almost the last there because Hushoff went very late on. He went 11 riders rather from the end, and he produced the time that matters. We'll take a break, but when we come back, it'll be the interviews, the podiums, and all of the results in detail right here from the Tour de France in Strasbourg. Hushoff has won the day.
Magnesium alloy roll cage. The Lenovo ThinkPad T60 with Intel Centrino Duo mobile technology.
Pillaging was great this time of year, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've taken jobs as camp counselors. Burnt a village to the ground, doo-dah, doo-dah. We're not exactly role models.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet? Put your backs into it.
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
The full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test,
you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
The wheel goes round and round, we keep it moving, and it don't slow down. The wheel goes round and round, we keep it moving.
Round and round.
The wheel goes round and round, keep it moving.
Oh yeah.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving. The wheel goes round and round, round and round, round and round, goes round and round.
Welcome back. The Cathedral of Our Lady here can settle down again now as the crowd start to walk away from an extraordinary prologue time trial. Victory for the Norwegian cyclist Thor Hushovd, the God of Thunder, has struck again. He won the green jersey in the Tour de France. Don't forget, last year he was the first Norwegian to do that. Now I believe he's become the first Norwegian to win a prologue stage of the Tour de France. And yes, it's his third career win in the Tour as well. Well, that was a great result for Hushovd. He pushed two American riders into the places. George Hincapie losing by 73 hundredths of a second. There they are. And David Zabriskie won the opening time trial last year. It was over a longer distance. He slots in just 4 seconds off the pace of Hushovd. There's a Thor there being interviewed for the Norwegian press. There's a big following here. And he's speaking English, I think.
After yesterday and all that happened, what does this mean for you?
It's important. I try to forget all the things that happened, and I just want to concentrate on the race to go good. And now I'm just glad that I showed how I'm working, what I'm standing for. I can win and one of the biggest races in the world.
What does this victory mean for Crédit Agricole?
I mean, it couldn't be better because it's in France, it's Tour de France, and win the first stage. It's a big dream for me and for sure for Crédit Agricole. So I'm happy for myself and the team.
Okay, og nå på norsk.
Well, I think the rest is going to be Norwegian, but it's certainly no doubt that Hushovd is delighted. You see he wears the Norwegian flag around his collar there, indicating he's been a national champion of the time trial as well. He's won stage of the Tour, the Bourg-en-Bresse, Quimper in the past, but this was a big time trial win for him, and he's riding now his 6th Tour de France. He got the green jersey last year, finally, the first time by a Norwegian. He has worn, of course, the yellow jersey too. Was also a first. That was a couple of years ago, back in 2004. Now let's have a look at George here. George almost pulled this off. I think he stayed the best of all of the riders over the second half of the course. He was just 73 hundredths of a second too late when he hit that finishing line. But George Hincapie, I keep thinking the words of Lance Armstrong saying, watch out for George Hincapie in the Tour. We think he'll do something special. I think he just did. And Dave Zabriskie, I say that Dave just simply rode to the form we expected from him. It could have been the win, but a blink of the eyelid means he slotted in into 3rd place here. But he's in a good position to possibly move up towards that maillot jaune, the yellow jersey, over the next week of racing. And the champion, who's now in the Tour de France, Serge Lang here. He only won his time trial title a week ago. He almost had this one in the bag as well. And what about Alejandro Valverde? This man is an extraordinary rider because he's one of the few men in the world who can ride time trials, can sprint and climb mountains. If you can do those 3 things, you usually win a big tour sooner or later. And that's why I think now he's probably the favourite for this year's Tour de France. Well, as we look down once again, there's still a lot more to come here on OLN. We'll recap the prologue, we'll show you the sprinters, we'll look at the course.
Real shooters, real rules, real cash. The world's greatest players, Hall of Famers and hustlers battle it out for the richest payday in the history of the sport. Over $1 million in prize money. But to rack up that kind of cash, they better bring their 8 game.
Come on, you country redneck.
It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout, a new OLN original series. An all-new episode Sunday at 7 Eastern, only on OLN.
It's showtime.
When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
Maybe it's time to upgrade. Upgrade to Comcast digital cable with HBO and Stars for $49.99 a month for 3 months. More channels, more movies, more music. Just call 1-800-COMCAST today. Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
Wish shaving didn't take so long? Well, now it doesn't have to. Introducing the Beard Reaper 8000.
Oh my, looks sharp.
It is razor sharp.
Oh my.
There are smarter ways to save time. Sign up for Comcast high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. At ridiculously quick speeds, it's way faster than DSL and dial-up. Sign up today and get professional installation. Just call 1-800-COMCAST. Comcast high-speed internet. It's Comcastic.
Welcome back. We're in Strasbourg. It is the prologue of the Tour de France. It has just finished. Thor Hushovd of Norway is the winner. We're waiting now for the podiums, but while we wait for that, let's go back to our studio. And I can tell you what, Al Trautwig, you must be feeling pretty pleased with yourself right now. You picked the winner. Let's join Al and Bob.
All right, so a great day for Thor Hushovd of Crédit Agricole, having his greatest day in his Tour de France career. We're joined now by Robbie Ventura. For 2 years, he's been the coach of Floyd Landis, and of course, Bob Roll still here. It's going to be one of the stories of the day, Robbie, and in spite of what happened with George Hincapie missing by 7/10 and Thor having this great day, you didn't see what happened to Floyd at the start. So when you came up here to the booth and we told you, you had a little bit of a shocked reaction. Put into words what that meant to you.
I was completely surprised. I was a little bit shocked that Floyd was 9 seconds off the lead, considering how wonderful he performed this morning in our pre-ride, and that just makes total sense. I'm happy that how good he's riding. Actually, I think it's a positive thing. I was shocked that he missed the start, but I was excited that he had the form.
When you look at about a loss of 8 seconds, you never know if that's going to matter or not. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's never good to lose time, but considering the way he lost it, he didn't lose it because, he had bad legs. He lost it because a little malfunction at the start.
I mean, here's what it looked like. The start house comes, his time is called, and he's not there. What are the possible explanations?
Robbie, if you're the team manager sitting next to that in the car that they are, and you don't see your man in the start house as it gets to 0, what happens to your blood pressure?
I can't believe what I'm watching right now. This is, it's a mistake. Hopefully it was a mechanical mistake and not some kind of delay for warming up or something, but you never know. These things happen, and it's the first 6K, guys. There's a big, long race, and obviously he's fast, so it's a positive thing.
All right, your job is part psychologist. Obviously he recovered okay to finish top 10, but your job is also to say the right thing to him at the end of the race. When you see him tonight, what will you say?
The legs are there, my friend. You're going to have a great race.
All right, let's take a look at his ride. Maybe you can point out some of the physical characteristics of what you see and how he's carrying himself and just how he looks generally to you.
Yeah, I mean, we rode this morning, and there's a lot of different things that go into a prologue. There's technical aspects, there's aerodynamics, and of course there's power. And Floyd is a great balance of all three. You can see he's in that downhill skier type position where his face are real close to his hands. Very, very difficult to handle a bike there, but it's very, very fast in the wind tunnel. The course is much more technical than people see on TV. I mean, there's a lot of turns, there's a lot of lifting, and I think it was a challenge, but I think he rode great.
With Floyd's position there so far forward, it seems as if just the tip of his elbow is resting on the part that steers the bicycle, and to do so well in a very technical time trial, that's a good indication that the speed is there in his time trial.
the speed is definitely there. And actually, we took the high road today. We played it a little bit cautious. We thought about some different lines in the pre-race, and we were thinking we wanted to go as close to the barriers as we could, because there's actually draft in the barriers from the people, because Floyd gets so low he can actually get under those barriers and under those people. But then there's the risk of something happening, like what happened to Lance with the food bag. So we decided, you know what, let's ride in the center of the road. Let's take it safe. It's a long race. You obviously have good legs. Let's not worry too much about breaking the sound barrier this morning.
All right, not much damage, but certainly early damage control for Floyd Landis. That's Robbie Ventura, his coach. And what a day for Thor Hushovd to wear the yellow jersey at any time and in any way in any career is an absolute dream. And that's what he's going to do tonight. He's going to sleep with that yellow jersey right next to his bed. It's important to remember that his mission and Floyd Landis's mission and George Hincapie's mission in this tour is different. Of the top 10 finishers today, only maybe 5 or so, maybe even less, have a dream of actually winning the entire tour when it's over.
Great ride by George Hincapie to give his team give him the confidence, give the team confidence, give the teammates morale to do the tempo. Fantastic ride by Zabriskie and George Hincapie.
All right, we will take a break in our post-race coverage. Still to come, we're going to get you set for the preview of what's to come in this 2006 Tour de France. But a sprinter takes it all on this 4.4-mile prologue. It couldn't have been a more beautiful day. Oh, and the sprinters, they should take center stage tomorrow again. Back after this.
The Tour is won in the off-season.
The man doing great times out on the course, Phil, is Lance Armstrong.
Well, he's been scorching it all the time, Checks. What a comeback. Armstrong is the leader. And he looks so good here, making his big return to the Tour de France. He's a brilliant prologue rider. He's proved to that in the past. Everybody here is banging on the boards and shouting his name as he races towards the line, and he's going to get it. Lance Armstrong has won the prologue. There he is, 6 times the winner. Armstrong has galloped across a gap of almost 1 minute, and he could be putting Jan Ullrich out of the Tour on day number 1. This is unthinkable.
Brought to you by Trek Bicycle's new Equinox TTX 9.9, equipped with Bontrager wheelworks and components.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma. I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer, exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Subway Dinner Theatre presents The Beast Within. A stomach studied in London. And now for dinner, Subway restaurants.
And the new Tuscan chicken, hot and fresh from the oven. Tender chicken, melted cheese, grilled vegetables on freshly baked bread.
Subway, eat fresh!
An early surprise in this 2006 Tour de France, Thor Hushovd, one of the sprinters. The sprinters will love the flats that are coming up in the first few stages of this year's tour. He has the fastest ride today, edging out George Hincapie of Discovery in the United States by about 0.7 of a second. The United States getting numbers 2 and 3, with David Zabriskie of Team CSC finishing third. So a lot to talk about, and really what is to talk about is who's who in the general classification. The guys who want to eventually take that yellow jersey and that big smile off the face of Thor Hushovd and challenge to win this Tour de France. Take it away, Bob.
Thor Hushovd there, first place on the stage, just 7/10 ahead of George Hincapie. Zabriskie in third. Sebastian Lang, the early leader. His time almost stood out through the whole stage. And Valverde, a good ride in 5th place. You can see 2 GC men, Valverde and Hincapie, doing a great ride. Gives hope to their teammates. O'Grady in 6th. Mick Rogers, a decent ride in 7th. Salvadelli, my pick, 8th, not too bad. Floyd Landis, one has to wonder what would have happened if he hadn't missed his start, 9 seconds down.
Continuing on through, Tom Boonen from Quick Step. Well, he's a sprinter. Look for him to be part of things tomorrow. Cadell Evans, he's 13 seconds off, right where he would want to be. And Christophe Moreau from AG2R, one of the teams that lost one of their top riders in Francisco Mancebo in the carnage of yesterday's dismissals. Bradley Wiggins, David Miller back from his 2-year suspension, only 14 seconds back. Victor Hugo Peña from Phonak, 16 seconds out. Quick reminder that up next on OLN, we've got Louis Vuitton Act 12 from gorgeous Valencia, Spain. That's up next. And we remind you to go olntv.com/fly to the finish. The keyword is cyclism. And there's the reminder what's up next on OLN. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll and the coach of Floyd Landis, Robbie Ventura. Robbie, how about a moment in the key development time of Floyd? We've got a lot more to talk about him, and you'll be part of our coverage as things move on. But I'm fascinated by a guy who gets used to being the leader, and now day one out of the box is the leader. What did he show his team today?
He laid it out there. It's so important for team leaders to have a really good prologue, not only for their own morale, but for their team's morale. I mean, everyone from the staff to the mechanics to the soigneurs, and especially his teammates. I think he proved today that he's a definite contender for this tour, and you will be so surprised at how his team will rise to the challenge, and they will do a good job for him during this Tour de France.
All right, that will be Team Phonak in support of Floyd Landis. Now, Thor Hushovd, a little bit more. Put in perspective, I mean, you could dream to be a guy, who comes to this race year after year, maybe wins a stage as he did in 2004, but to wear the yellow jersey.
Unbelievable. He's been racing for French teams throughout his career. Thor Hushovd knows the importance of this, the significance, not just for his career, but his sponsor as well. Crédit Agricole has to be absolutely over the moon with this ride. Very surprising. I don't know how you pulled that out of the hat, Al, but hats off to you. Thor Hushovd sprinting out of each corner. It's not completely abnormal. He did win the Under-23 World Championships way back in 1998 in the time trial, so this is a great culmination of that. Initially, he was thought to be a GC man and a time trialist. He's turned out to be a very fast sprinter. He used all those skills today, accelerating out of each corner. Unbelievable ride by Hushovd.
And actually, I'm a little like Thor Hushovd myself. Got the yellow jersey. Might not have it for long, but I've got the Saab yellow jersey. Let's talk about the Americans, what you saw today. Obviously, George Hincapie was right there, missed it by 7/10. We've talked about Floyd Landis, and then you have Levi Leipheimer. What did you think of his form?
I thought it was a bit of a disappointing ride for Levi, but let's face it, it's only 7 kilometers long. He is a long-distance man. He'll come into the 4 3 weeks ago, of course, before we get to Paris. Floyd Landis, he did a great ride as well, and we'll just have to wonder what might have happened if he hadn't missed his start.
Hey, Robbie, what about the team support that you see Levi Leipheimer getting from Gerolsteiner?
I think Levi he's got a great team. Not really as pronounced as the other teams like Discovery and CSC, but you'll be surprised. Like I said before, he starts having a great tour, his team will come to the forefront.
So Levi Leipheimer finishes 8:38. That's 17 seconds off the best time, or more than that, 8:17 Thor Hushovd. Now you've got the story of Discovery and George Hincapie, and I thought this was pretty exciting for Team Discovery. Everything changing yesterday, people looking at George at maybe winning this Tour de France at the age of 33 now that Lance Armstrong has retired, not knowing who the leader is going to be, and to just miss by 7/10, that's pretty exciting for this team deep.
Lance has told me year in and year out that the strongest man he's ever had to race against, luckily, has been his teammate, George Hincapie. If he could take over the leadership of the team from Lance Armstrong, he's learned from the best. He has the tools, physiologically speaking. He's put in the time, he's put in the miles and the concentration. George Hincapie is going to be very dangerous in this year's tour.
Well, it all gets real starting tomorrow. Robbie Ventura will be part of things as the coach of Floyd Landis. Thanks, Robbie, for joining us. We're just getting started, big boy. We got a long way to go. I cannot wait to see how Phil and Paul dismiss my pick Can they? Is it possible? This is the one and only Tour de France on OLN.
Who will be the first to wear yellow? The tour begins with a prologue which could propel a rider into a big lead or send someone spinning. Tour de France Enhanced, tonight at 8 on OLN. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. Sampras and the Breakers take on the 5-time champion Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis, July 16th at 11:30, only on OLN.
Time trialing is all about aerodynamics. The biggest contribution that a frame can make is to shield the rear wheel. That's why Cervelo uses this cutout that follows the exact width of the rear wheel and goes up as high as possible.
Ingeniously designed to help protect the things that need protecting. Energy-absorbing ACE body structure, standard on the all-new Civic. Only from Honda.
Try new cheesy chicken mashed potato bowls from KFC. Freshly prepared with our famous mashed potatoes, layered with sweet corn, all white meat crispy chicken, and topped with our signature gravy and 3-cheese blend. Great flavors come together at KFC.
Attention. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
Looking for a great deal on an RV? Why spend more time and use more gas driving the I-25 corridor when you can take the short drive west to Windish RV? Save $40,000 on a new Holiday Rambler Neptune. Save $15,000 on a new Chateau Sport. Save $5,000 on a new Laredo. And save $80,000 on a new Country Coach Intrigue. Save time, gas, and money. Take the short drive west to Windish RV, where RV stands for real value.
Strasbourg, France, just across the border from Germany. That will be visited tomorrow in Stage 1, and Strasbourg is the site of Stage 1. Start and finish tomorrow as the tour gets really started. Meanwhile, the general classification brought to you by Michelob Light after just 4.4 miles. What a day of joy and honor for Tor Hushovd from Credit Agricole. He just edges out George Hincapie, and David Zabriskie is right there to be a player as well. Sebastian Lang very fast. How about the sprinters? Stuart O'Grady right there. Mick Rogers making a statement for T-Mobile. They can use some good news. Paolo Salvadelli reinforcing the depth that is Discovery Channel. Floyd Landis missing out 8 seconds. Ouch, he would have been right there to challenge for the stage. So things can dramatically change tomorrow and could have been dramatically different today. Al Trautwig back with Bob Roll and Paul Sherwen and Phil Liggett. We'll get to this whole yellow jersey thing in a moment. But first, I think one of the big stories of the day was that shot of the start house with Floyd Landis not there. I mean, it's 8 seconds, but who knows what that means?
It took me back to 1988 when Pedro Delgado missed the start. He was warming up in the side streets. Then he rode the team time trial and he fell off and he got dropped, and he started leaving the start town, which was Luxembourg. I think he was second to last in the race, and he finally finished it in 3rd place overall. It was 88 or 80, I can't remember, wasn't it?
It was a long time ago. He did start right at the back end of the field. He was at one stage, I think, last overall, and did climb up into 3rd. But I can't understand in the modern day of professional cycling how something like that can happen. You go to the start, you know where the start house is, you know exactly what time your starting time is. I mean, you set your watch to it. It's something that you have to do. You have to be professional about it. Bob, what do you think? I mean, to me, at that level of the sport, Lance Armstrong never did it.
No, you don't see the Discovery Channel team, you don't see the Team CSC missing out on their start time. Not any of their riders, especially not their GC leader.
I remember a Munich Olympics once where the track team coach had a relay team and just got the day wrong, and they showed up and watched on television. Totally missed the
Not
race.
much you can do about that, really.
No, not much you can do about that. You know, if you're going to make a big mistake in the Tour de France, at least let it be only 8 seconds. That's something you can come back from. We'll start tomorrow here in Strasbourg again. We're going to take a look at the course that lies ahead. 20 stages, 23 days. This is the Tour de France 2006.
The 2006 Tour de France is a classic one. After the opening prologue in Strasbourg, the peloton heads into Luxembourg, Belgium and the Netherlands, including the stage 3 finish on top of the Cauberg before returning into France. The opening week should pit the sprinters against each other in an epic battle to prove who is the fastest man in the world. But the crashes sometimes change the face of the race in just a few seconds. The Tour's first long time trial comes on stage 7, with the first opportunity for the GC men to make their mark. 2 more days down France's west coast bring us to the Pyrenees, with the Tour's real first battleground on stage 11. Over 5 of southern France's most difficult climbs, climaxing in Spain on the Plat de Beret. The true quest to win the Tour will begin on this day. After 2 more days of travel through southeastern France, it'll bring the whole peloton into the Alps and the Tour's incredible final week. It begins with stage 15 over the stark roads of the Col d'Izoard and finishing on the Alpe d'Huez. Then on stage 16 it actually gets harder as the peloton will tackle 2 of the race's monuments, the Galibier and the Croix de Fer, before moving on to a new mountaintop finish at Le Toussuire. This will be the queen of stages at the Tour and a potential race decider. And with a deep and balanced field this year, the race could come down to the final time trial, finishing in Mont-Soleil-Mines, prior to the traditional ride down the famed cobblestones of the Champs-Élysées. Truly a route fit to crown a new champion and begin a new legacy at the Tour de France.
Well, Paul, that was quite a mouthful. Any tour that includes the Alpe d'Huez is a friend of mine. I can't wait to get there, but where do you see this tour being decided?
Well, I've got to say, I really believe it's going to be decided in the final week of the race, and I believe it's going to be the stage on the road to Alpe d'Huez, because that has a couple of big monuments. It's got the Col d'Izoard, which itself is a very difficult climb, and then after that you've got the Col de Lauteret and a very difficult climb up to the summit of the Alpe d'Huez. That to me is probably going to be the first crucial stage, and what makes it very difficult is this climb right down at the end. Climbing up to the Alpe d'Huez after over 200 kilometers is no mean task. Look at that profile. There's the Col d'Izoard, there's the Lauteret, and right at the very end, the Alpe d'Huez makes it a very difficult crunch day. And for me, what makes it more difficult is it comes right after a rest day.
Yeah, and how about the fact that it seems like it's getting a little bit warmer in Europe? It's not cooling off. Where do you think it's going to come down to?
I think it'll be the day after the Alpe d'Huez stage to La Toussuire. You have 3 mountain passes the first day in the Alps, and then 5 monstrosities, Galibier, and you have also La Moyarde, and then up to the final climb, a brand new climb in the Tour to La Toussuire.
How is that possible? A brand new climb after 100 years.
Croix de Fer right after the Galibier. This is the highest point in the Tour, 2,648 meters. That's way up in the sky. Another HC and a Category 1 to finish out the stage. Unbelievable. Number 16 stage. Do not miss that. Do not touch your remote. Stay tuned for the whole proceedings of that stage. It'll be won or loss right there.
Our producer's downstairs screaming, no, don't miss tomorrow. We'll take this one stage at a time. What about you, Phil?
Well, having just said how bad a choice Al Trautwig made in the prologue time trial, I'm not sure I know where this race will be decided right now, but I have to say the boys are right. It will be decided in the Alps, I think. But this now is going to be a very unusual tour, and for that reason, I think the penultimate time trial will be a lot more significant now than we ever thought, and so this could go down to the penultimate day.
Cycling welcomes new fans all the time. One of the things that they recognize is that the large proportion of the field doesn't come to win the race at all. They come to simply win the days that are set aside for them, like tomorrow is for the sprinters. We'll get you set for stage 1 after this. This is the Tour on OLN.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of neat prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Thanks, Trek!
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 Sport Sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. And now with the Saab 72-hour sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months. Take off in a new Saab today.
You've got a lot of stuff to paint, but not a lot of time. The new Wagner Power Painter with innovative lock-and-go cartridges lets you go from staining to painting in a snap. Wagner, paint fast, paint smart.
I am so tired of overpaying for health insurance.
Wow, I pay a lot less, and that covers me and my family.
If you're self-employed or an individual looking for affordable health insurance for yourself and your family, do what I did. Call the Mega Life and Health Insurance Company for a free quote.
I got individual attention from a licensed Mega agent who helped me tailor a plan to match my needs and was way more than affordable.
I got great coverage at a great rate, and I could choose my own doctor on my own or from the network.
Now get this. You're covered 24/7 whether you're on the job, at home, or anywhere in the world. So, do what I did.
Call the Mega Life and Health Insurance Company for your free quote. You have absolutely no obligation, except the one to yourself, your family, and your business.
Call 800-783-3329 for your Mega Affordable Health Insurance quote. Call 800-783-3329.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by the Trek Tour Mania Scratch and Win Sweepstakes. Play every day of the tour at your local Trek dealer and at trekbikes.com. And by Star Motorcycles. We build it, you make it your own.
Well, the Tour de France got great ratings in Oslo and beyond to the Arctic Circle. A man who's never worn the yellow jersey, Thor Hushovd from Crédit Agricole, has the honor. George Hincapie and the rest of the Americans say today with their performance in the prologue that they are ready for this race to really get started. Up next on OLN, Louis Vuitton, Act 12 from gorgeous Valencia, Spain. Well, you know, when Lance Armstrong was dominating this Tour de France over the last 7 years, you had to find ways to keep yourself occupied. At times, at least I did, and I found the sprinters a great way to go because they're as close to this thing gets to be roller derby.
I'll tell you what, I think Bob and I, we always get excited when the sprinters come out to display because I tell you what, the sprinters are the men who really are some of the bravest guys in this bike racing game because they are absolutely superb. They really battle it out for fun.
Let's stay with Paul's voice and take a look at the sprinters who want to dominate this Tour de France.
The first week of the Tour de France is known for chaotic sprints and dangerous lunges at the line, but each year amidst the pandemonium emerge a few sprinters with the fearlessness and power necessary to win stages. As the challengers face off, and in the absence of Italy's fast man Alessandro Petacchi, it's the two named favourites, Tom Boonen and Robbie McEwen, who are ready to duke it out.
Robbie and Tom are going to go head-to-head in lots of times in this Tour de France.
Well, Tom's proven in the last couple of years that he's fast, but he's also very strong.
Robin McEwen's the type of guy who wants to win at all costs.
If Tom's on his best, I think the only rider at this moment who can get around him would be Robbie McEwen, if he can get around him.
Robbie McEwen is opening up the sprint. Tom Boonen is trying to get over the top of him. As they come up to the line, it's Boonen and McEwen, and Tom gets it. What a finish.
Tom's big, he's strong, he's got a great team to support him.
If he has an incredible day, he's hard to beat. But I do think Robbie's the fastest of them all. I think he's a guy who can win from the front, a guy who can win from behind.
Here comes Hushovd, here comes Tom Boonen now. There goes the bouncing Robbie McEwen as they get to the line. McEwen and Hushovd one-on-one as they hit the line. Robbie McEwen has won the stage of the Tour de France.
You have Tom Boonen and Robbie McEwen. When those guys are there, they're almost unbeatable.
That's the type of excitement that we can look forward to in tomorrow's stage 1. We looked at Floyd Landis not there at the start house, and we said, wait, how can that happen? And now we know why. We get late word that he had a flat tire. And I don't know what I'm more amazed at, that he wasn't there in the start because of the flat tire, or how quickly they changed the flat tire. But nonetheless, there's your explanation. What does it say?
It says the boys are on the ball, so I take my hat off to them. But I can't wait for the sprints.
Well, tomorrow it is stage 1. It's going to take us to the second country already in just day 2 of this 2006 Tour de France. It's going to be stage 1, and remember, this is a counterclockwise tour this year. Eventually we'll head north of Paris and to Brittany once again, then down to Bordeaux and into the Pyrenees, and then cut across into the Alps. Stage 1, our coverage begins early morning tomorrow. Join us for the Saab pre-race show, and there's what it looks like, big picture, eventually winding up in Paris, of course. But why don't we all talk about this stage tomorrow that takes us into Germany, when we'll see if this country now with Jan Ullrich being dismissed from the race can match the enthusiasm that they showed for us last year.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see lots of people out there. It's not a hilly route tomorrow. It is a made route for the sprinters. Don't forget, you can be with us at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be live. We've got expanded coverage at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. The Tour de France now, Al, is really underway, and this is going to be a superb race, mark my words.
So, stage 1 tomorrow. We look forward to joining you for the next 3 weeks for the 2006 Tour de France here on OLN. It was quite a day. Floyd Landis had a late start, but mechanical problems explain it. George Hincapie missed by just 7/10, but maybe not wearing the jersey is something that's good early on. Levi Leipheimer, also part of the American scene in this 2006 tour. His form was on, and he was off by just a few seconds. Our OLN team outfitted by LL Bean. Visit them at www.llbean.com. Up next, it's Louis Vuitton Act 12 as we take you to gorgeous Valencia, Spain. With Craig Hummer and Frankie Andreu, and for Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen, and Bob Roll, I'm Al Trautwig, who correctly predicted somehow, some way, that the fastest man of all would be Thor Hushovd, beating even out the reigning world champion to claim the yellow jersey after the prologue in 4.4 miles of day 1 of the 2006 Tour de France. We'll see you tomorrow morning.